Hi, my name is Marcos, and today we are going to spread the words of the Lord. Matthew 11 verses 28 to 30, NKJV. Come now, beloved listener. Let your heart begin to exhale. Let your spirit grow still beneath the gentle rhythm of these words. There is no hurry here. No striving. No burden to carry alone. Only a quiet invitation from the Savior himself. Come to me. Can you hear him? Not in the noise of the world, but in the whisper of peace that meets you now. The day may have been long. The thoughts may still be loud. But the shepherd of your soul is near, and he is calling you into rest. Not the kind of rest that fades with time, or the shallow rest that sleep alone brings, but a sacred rest, a rest that reaches deeper than your weary bones. A rest that touches the soul. A rest that only Jesus gives. Come to me. He does not say, come once you're strong. He does not say, come when you've figured it all out. He says, come, as you are. Weary, heavy laden, burdened beneath the weight no one else can see. Come, and I will give you rest. This is not a command to fix yourself, it is an invitation to lay it all down. To unclench the grip. To stop pretending you have to hold it all together. For his hands are stronger. His shoulders can bear what yours cannot. He knows how tired you've become. He knows the thoughts that swirl when the lights go out. He sees the burdens you carry in silence. And still, he speaks gently, come, learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart. This is the heart of Christ. Not hard, not distant, not cold or unreachable, but gentle, tender, patient with your weakness, close to your brokenness, compassionate toward every cry you could not put into words. And here in the softness of this moment, you are safe to rest. Let your shoulders loosen. Let the muscles of your face soften. Let the breath you hold finally be released. You are not alone in this night. You are not forgotten in your struggle. You are not invisible to the one who made you. His yoke is easy. His burden is light. He is not placing more weight upon your soul. He is lifting it off. He is carrying you in the places you thought you had to walk alone. He is the rest your heart has longed for. Maybe you've been walking a long road, hoping for peace, grasping for something solid. Maybe you've tried to be strong for too long. But now is your time to lay it down. To stop performing. To stop pretending. To let grace find you in your most tender need. You were never meant to carry all of this alone. You were not created to be self-sufficient in a world that breaks even the strongest. You were made to walk with him, to lean on him, to rest in him. Let your heart begin to believe again that he is near, that he sees, that he knows, that he cares, not just in theory, but deeply, personally, intimately. This night is not empty. It is held in his hands. The silence is not void, it is filled with his presence. The stillness is not abandonment, it is an invitation to draw closer, to hear the whisper of his Spirit as he speaks peace over you. You are not disqualified from his love. You are not too far gone to be restored. You are not too broken to be made whole. He delights in meeting the weary. He comes close to the lowly. And he knows exactly how to tend to your soul. So now, breathe. Just breathe. You are here. And he is here. The yoke you've carried alone can now be shared with the one whose strength never runs dry. He is your rest. He is your refuge. He is your peace. And he will never turn you away. Come to him in this quiet hour, not with polished prayers, but with open hands. Come not with perfection, but with surrender. Come not to impress, but to receive. He gives rest freely, generously, without cost or condition. Simply because he loves you. Simply because he sees you. Simply because he is who he says he is. And his love, oh, his love, it is not a fleeting feeling. It is not dependent on your goodness. It is not based on how well you perform or how perfectly you believe. His love is rooted in his own faithfulness, his own mercy, his own unchanging heart. And that love surrounds you now. So let your thoughts begin to quiet. Let your soul lean deeper into grace. Let your fears begin to loosen their grip. For you are being held, not by a passing emotion, but by eternal hands. Hands that were pierced to give you peace. Hands that still reach toward you tonight. Hands that never grow weary of carrying your burdens. You are safe here. You are seen here. You are loved here. And in His presence, there is nothing to fear. This night, rest in the truth that you are not walking alone. Rest in the truth that Jesus walks beside you. He is gentle. He is lowly in heart. He is the giver of rest. Let your heart believe again. Let your soul lie down in peace. Let the heaviness of the day melt into the stillness of His presence. And let your spirit whisper one simple word in response to His call. Yes, Lord, I come. And so, the invitation still lingers in the air. Soft, unwavering, holy. It does not fade after a moment. It does not vanish with the turn of a page. It remains, an eternal call from the heart of Jesus to yours. Come to me. And even now, as the night deepens, your soul still hears it echoing like a tender melody through the silence. You may not have words, but He understands the language of sighs. You may not know how to begin, but He already sees your heart turning toward Him. What a gentle Savior, who does not rush you, who does not pressure you, who does not shame you for your weariness. But instead, He meets you with rest. He clothes you in peace. He whispers comfort into the deepest places you've tried to hide. Can you feel it? That sacred stillness beginning to settle over your soul like a blanket? That holy hush that comes not from the absence of trouble, but from the presence of the One who calms every storm? He is the rest your soul forgot it needed. He is the peace your heart could not find in the world. He is the calm that comes not after the chaos, but in the middle of it. Because He is near. And when He is near, you don't have to pretend to be strong anymore. You can cry, and He won't flinch. You can crumble, and He will hold you. You can whisper broken prayers, and He will still call you beloved. He is not disappointed in your weakness. He delights in being your strength. He is not surprised by your weariness. He has already prepared a place for you to rest. Let this be that place. Right here. Right now. In the stillness. In the quiet. In the presence of the One who knows every part of you and loves you just the same. There is a sacred peace in surrender. Not the kind the world understands. No, the world sees surrender as defeat. But in the kingdom of heaven, surrender is where healing begins. Where rest returns. Where burdens finally fall to the ground. And that's what He invites you into now. Not defeat, but release. Not shame, but grace. Not more striving, but deep rest. You were never meant to carry everything by yourself. You were never created to survive on your own strength. The One who formed your heart knows exactly what it needs to be whole again. And He is not far off. He is here. Nearer than your next breath. Closer than your fears. More constant than your doubts. He is the One who restores your soul, not with noise, but with gentleness. Not with force, but with mercy. Do you remember the sound of still waters? That quiet stream in the Psalms. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. Can you picture it now? Not a rushing current. Not a crashing wave. Just the peaceful hush of a gentle stream, and your shepherd leading you there. That's where He's taking you tonight. That's where your heart begins to rest. Let Him lead you there, not with commands, but with kindness. Not with demands, but with delight. He loves to bring His sheep to still waters. He delights in restoring tired souls. And yes, yours too. Even if you feel distant. Even if you feel empty. Even if you feel numb. He knows how to revive what's been withering. He knows how to mend what's been broken. He knows how to breathe new life where you thought all hope was gone. This is the beauty of His rest. It doesn't come because you've earned it. It comes because you're loved. Not because you performed well, but because He is good. Not because you proved yourself, but because He is faithful. Not because you have it all together, but because He came to hold all things together for you. So tonight, let it fall away, the pressure, the fear, the tension in your chest. Let your heart sink into the safety of His arms. Let your soul be wrapped in the warmth of His promises. You are not just tolerated here. You are welcomed, cherished, held. You are not forgotten in the crowd of prayers. You are not overlooked in the ocean of need. You are seen. You are heard. You are chosen. And His rest is not temporary, it is eternal. His peace is not fragile, it is unshakable. His love is not limited, it is boundless. Let this moment be sacred. Let this stillness be holy. Let this night be the beginning of healing. No one else may see the burdens you carry, but He sees, and He lifts. No one else may understand the ache beneath your smile, but He knows, and He heals. No one else may know how exhausted your soul has become, but He draws near, and He gives rest. Let the deep, slow rhythm of peace wash over you now. With every breath, let tension release. With every moment, let grace settle deeper. With every word, let your soul remember, it is not alone. You are not forgotten. You are not forsaken. You are not too far gone. You are His, and He is yours. Stillness. Sacred stillness. It stretches now like a gentle hush across your heart, a holy quiet that doesn't ask you to explain, perform, or prove anything. You are simply here, and He is here with you. This moment, this night, this breath, it is wrapped in the grace of a Savior who never sleeps, who never slumbers, who watches over you with love more faithful than the rising sun. There's no need to strive in this place. No need to pretend you're stronger than you are. Here, in the company of Jesus, your weakness is not a burden, it's a doorway. A doorway into His strength. A pathway into His peace. And even now, as your soul slows its pace, as your breath becomes gentle, as the noise of the day fades into the distance, His presence draws near like a soft light in the dark. You are not walking alone. Not through your weariness. Not through your worry. Not through the silent ache you carry behind your smile. He walks beside you, step by step. And He invites you, not to carry more, but to rest in Him. Not to run harder, but to sit at His feet. Not to prove yourself, but to be held. Let your heart return now to the simplicity of His nearness. No grand words needed. No perfect prayer. Just you, resting in the gentle presence of the One who says, "Come to me." The world often tells you that rest must be earned. That peace is reserved only for those who finish their tasks, meet every expectation, keep everything together. But Jesus whispers something different, something so much better. Rest is a gift, not a reward. Peace is a person, not a destination. And you, beloved, are invited into that peace, not when everything is fixed, but even while things remain unfinished. You are allowed to rest before the answers come. You are allowed to lay down your burden before you know what tomorrow holds. You are allowed to breathe deeply, even in the waiting. And He meets you there, in that quiet surrender, with gentleness, with mercy, with love that does not run dry. So let Him hold your heart tonight. Let Him cradle your soul in arms that never grow tired. Let Him sing over you the song of rest you've forgotten how to hear. A lullaby of grace. A melody of peace. A chorus of comfort that echoes softly in the night. You are mine. I am with you. I will never leave you. Breathe that in now, slow, deep, steady. Let it wrap around every thought, every ache, every restless question. You don't have to solve everything tonight. You don't have to understand everything right now. It's enough to be still, and know that He is God. He holds what you cannot. He carries what you've grown weary trying to lift. He defends what you've been silently fighting. He restores what you thought was lost. And He does all of it, not because you are perfect, but because you are His. This is what grace feels like. Not loud, not forceful, just quietly present, gently faithful, steadily near. Perhaps tonight your heart is remembering something deeper than words, something your soul has always known but the world tries to make you forget. You are deeply loved, even in your most fragile moments. You are not loved for your strength. You are not chosen because you've earned it. You are not accepted because you never fail. You are loved simply because He is love. And His love does not change with your circumstances. It does not waver with your feelings. It does not run out with your mistakes. It is constant, enduring, unshakable. So let that love settle deep tonight. Let it hold you. Let it quiet the anxious questions. Let it hush the fear that creeps in after the lights go out. Let it speak louder than the shame that whispers in the silence. You are safe here, in the arms of the shepherd who leaves the 99 just to find you. You are seen here, by the Savior who notices even the smallest tear. You are covered here, by the grace that stretches further than all your fears. And even now, as the night deepens and stillness covers the earth, His promise remains. I will give you rest. Not temporary comfort. Not a fleeting moment of peace. But soul-deep rest. Sacred, healing, holy rest. So if your heart is tired, let Him be your rest. If your spirit feels scattered, let Him gather you in. If your soul is worn thin, let Him wrap you in the quiet strength of His presence. This night is not wasted. This moment is not small. This is where transformation begins, not in striving, but in surrender. Not in fixing, but in resting. Not in doing, but in simply being with Him. And He delights in being with you. Even here. Even now. Even in your silence, He hears. Even in your stillness, He draws near. Even in your sleep, He watches over you. So sleep peacefully tonight, beloved. You are held. You are carried. You are safe. You are His. And He is your rest. Psalm 23 verses 1-3, NKJV. Close your eyes now, dear soul. Let the weight of the world slide off your shoulders. You've carried enough today. You've walked through noise, through questions, through unseen battles. But now you come to the still waters. You've found the quiet pasture. Not the noise of duty, not the hurry of expectation, but the gentle rhythm of grace. Here, you do not need to try. You do not need to strive. The shepherd has already prepared this place for you. Soft meadows for your soul to rest in. Still waters for your spirit to drink from. A quiet refuge for your heart to breathe again. You are not forgotten in the chaos. You are not overlooked in the crowd. You are remembered, cherished, and gently led by the hand of the one who calls you His own. Let the words of the shepherd find you again tonight. Not with thunder, but with tenderness. Not with pressure, but with peace. Lie down, beloved. Let me restore you. This is the invitation. This is the holy hush of the evening hour, where heaven bends low and the heart finds rest again. You may feel weary, but He is not. You may feel scattered, but He gathers you. You may feel broken, but He restores what the world cannot see. And so, let your soul lay down its burdens tonight, not just the obvious ones, but the quiet ones, the hidden ones, the ones you don't know how to speak out loud. Lay down the silent weight of comparison. Lay down the ache of unanswered prayers. Lay down the fatigue that creeps in beneath even your most faithful smile. Because the shepherd sees it all, and still He stays close. Still, He says, I will restore you. And restoration, you see, is not always loud. It's not always immediate. But it is deep. It is gentle. It is sure. He does not rush your healing. He does not scold your weakness. He simply leads you, beside still waters, into places your heart has forgotten how to find on its own. He brings peace where chaos once lived. He speaks life into dry places. He takes the frayed pieces of your soul and stitches them gently, with kindness as His thread and mercy as His needle. You are not too far gone. You are not too broken. You are not beyond His reach. He is restoring you, even now, even in the quiet, even in your sleep. The world offers distraction. He offers depth. The world tells you to keep going. He tells you to rest. The world measures you by your pace. He shepherds you with His presence. And so, tonight, let your soul remember what it means to be held, to be led, to be known without needing to perform. You are not a number to Him. You are not a task to be managed. You are a beloved child to be nourished. And His care is constant, even when you don't feel it, even when you don't see it, even when you feel lost, wandering, uncertain. He is there, guiding your steps quietly, gently, lovingly. He is not a distant shepherd. He is near. And His voice is soft, like the sound of water over stones, like the breeze through tall grass, like the whisper that stirs something ancient and sacred in your soul. He says, I see you. I know you. I lead you. And he will not lose you along the way. So breathe in his nearness now. Feel the still waters lap softly at the edges of your heart. Feel the rhythm of peace begin to rise again within you. You are not alone in the valley. You are not forsaken in the fog. You are not forgotten in the silence. The shepherd walks beside you. And when you are too weary to take another step, he carries you. This is who he is, not just in bright days, but in the deep of night. Not just when your faith feels strong, but even when all you have left is a whisper, Help me, Lord. Even then, especially then, he answers with presence. He answers with peace. He answers with himself. So lay your head down tonight not in fear, but in trust. Lay your questions down not in confusion, but in surrender. Lay your soul down not in exhaustion, but in hope. You are being restored. You are being led. You are being loved. The shepherd is near, and your heart is safe. Let his still waters calm every storm within you. Let his green pastures renew your joy. Let his presence become your peace. And may your rest tonight be deeper than sleep. May it be soul rest, quiet rest, healing rest. Because where he leads, peace follows. And he is leading you even now. Psalm 23 verses 1-3, NKJV. Close your eyes now, dear soul. Let the weight of the world slide off your shoulders. You've carried enough today. You've walked through noise, through questions, through unseen battles. But now you come to the still waters. You've found the quiet pasture. Not the noise of duty, not the hurry of expectation, but the gentle rhythm of grace. Here, you do not need to try. You do not need to strive. The shepherd has already prepared this place for you. Soft meadows for your soul to rest in. Still waters for your spirit to drink from. A quiet refuge for your heart to breathe again. You are not forgotten in the chaos. You are not overlooked in the crowd. You are remembered, cherished, and gently led by the hand of the one who calls you his own. Let the words of the shepherd find you again tonight. Not with thunder, but with tenderness. Not with pressure, but with peace. Lie down, beloved. Let me restore you. This is the invitation. This is the holy hush of the evening hour, where heaven bends low, and the heart finds rest again. You may feel weary, but he is not. You may feel scattered, but he gathers you. You may feel broken, but he restores what the world cannot see. And so, let your soul lay down its burdens tonight, not just the obvious ones, but the quiet ones, the hidden ones, the ones you don't know how to speak out loud. Lay down the silent weight of comparison. Lay down the ache of unanswered prayers. Lay down the fatigue that creeps in beneath even your most faithful smile. Because the shepherd sees it all, and still he stays close. Still, he says, I will restore you. And restoration, you see, is not always loud. It's not always immediate. But it is deep. It is gentle. It is sure. He does not rush your healing. He does not scold your weakness. He simply leads you, beside still waters, into places your heart has forgotten how to find on its own. He brings peace where chaos once lived. He speaks life into dry places. He takes the frayed pieces of your soul and stitches them gently, with kindness as his thread and mercy as his needle. You are not too far gone. You are not too broken. You are not beyond his reach. He is restoring you, even now, even in the quiet, even in your sleep. The world offers distraction. He offers depth. The world tells you to keep going. He tells you to rest. The world measures you by your pace. He shepherds you with his presence. And so, tonight, let your soul remember what it means to be held, to be led, to be known without needing to perform. You are not a number to him. You are not a task to be managed. You are a beloved child to be nourished. And his care is constant. Even when you don't feel it. Even when you don't see it. Even when you feel lost, wandering, uncertain. He is there, guiding your steps quietly, gently, lovingly. He is not a distant shepherd. He is near. And his voice is soft, like the sound of water over stones, like the breeze through tall grass, like the whisper that stirs something ancient and sacred in your soul. He says, I see you. I know you. I lead you. And he will not lose you along the way. So breathe in his nearness now. Feel the still waters lap softly at the edges of your heart. Feel the rhythm of peace begin to rise again within you. You are not alone in the valley. You are not forsaken in the fog. You are not forgotten in the silence. The shepherd walks beside you. And when you are too weary to take another step, he carries you. This is who he is, not just in bright days, but in the deep of night. Not just when your faith feels strong, but even when all you have left is a whisper, Help me, Lord. Even then, especially then, he answers with presence. He answers with peace. He answers with himself. So lay your head down tonight not in fear, but in trust. Lay your questions down not in confusion, but in surrender. Lay your soul down not in exhaustion, but in hope. You are being restored. You are being led. You are being loved. The shepherd is near, and your heart is safe. Let his still waters calm every storm within you. Let his green pastures renew your joy. Let his presence become your peace. And may your rest tonight be deeper than sleep. May it be soul rest, quiet rest, healing rest. Because where he leads, peace follows. And he is leading you even now. There are paths in life that we do not choose. Valleys we never intended to walk. Shadows that fall longer than expected. And yet, the shepherd leads us still. Not away from the valley, but through it. Not around the shadows, but within them, never leaving, always near. You do not walk this path alone, beloved. Even now, if your heart feels heavy with fear, if your soul trembles beneath the uncertainty, know this, he walks with you. The one who holds the stars also holds your hand. The one who shaped the mountains walks by your side. And though the valley may echo with silence, though the path may seem unclear, his presence is your compass. His comfort is your light. This valley, this season, this ache, this sorrow, it does not define you. It will not destroy you. It is not the end of your story. Because even here, even now, even in the shadow of the hardest places, there is a shepherd. And he does not abandon his sheep. He does not panic at the darkness. He does not turn away when the terrain grows steep. He draws closer. He stays near. He becomes your comfort in a way that the mountaintop never could. You see, valleys are sacred places, where faith is not just sung, but lived, where prayers become whispers in the night, where peace becomes more than a concept and becomes a presence. And his presence is enough. His rod protects you when danger hides in the dark. His staff guides you when the path feels unclear. His hand steadies your heart when fear rises like a tide. And his voice, oh, his voice, is still speaking in the silence, still calling you forward, step by step, moment by moment. Do not fear, he says. I am with you. And those words are not a mere comfort. They are a promise, a lifeline, a truth stronger than the shadow. Yes, even here, his light finds you. Even here, his peace enfolds you. And perhaps it is here, in the valley, that you will discover the depth of his love in ways you never imagined. Because when all else falls silent, his presence sings louder. When the path narrows, his strength carries you farther. When fear knocks, his nearness answers. And you learn, oh, how you learn, that you are not sustained by what you see, but by who walks beside you. There is no valley too deep for his comfort. No night too dark for his light. No fear too loud for his peace. You are not abandoned. You are not forgotten. You are not alone. So tonight, even if your soul trembles, even if your heart feels fragile, lean into the nearness of your shepherd. Let his rod and staff bring comfort to every aching part of your journey. Let his hand remind you that you are never, ever alone. You may not know where this path leads, but you know who leads you. And that is enough. His presence is your courage. His guidance is your peace. His love is your anchor. So let your heart rest again, not because the valley has vanished, but because he is with you in it. And if the shadows grow darker, his light will shine brighter. If the path feels longer, his grace will grow deeper. If your strength falters, his arms will hold you. Let your soul believe again tonight. He has not brought you this far to leave you. He has not allowed the valley to harm you, but to shape you, to strengthen you, to reveal His tenderness in ways only the valley could. And one day, you will look back and see, this was not the place where you were abandoned, this was the place where you were held. This was where you were comforted. This was where you walked closer than ever with your shepherd. So rest, beloved, not because the journey is easy, but because He is faithful. Let His presence be your pillow. Let His promises be your covering. Let His peace be the song that lulls your heart into quiet trust. The shadows cannot overcome Him. The valley cannot silence Him. And your soul, your precious soul, is safe in His care. There is a hush that falls over the heart when the path grows dim, when the scenery changes from light to shadow, when the sun slips behind the hills and the soul begins to whisper, "Where am I now, Lord?" Even the strongest hearts encounter valleys. Even the most faithful walkers find themselves surrounded by shadows. But hear this, gentle soul. A shadow is not the absence of light. It is simply the passing of it. And in the valley of the shadow of death, where fears try to rise, where uncertainties echo louder than answers, where silence wraps itself around your questions, you are not alone. I will fear no evil. Not because evil doesn't exist, but because the shepherd does. Because the shepherd walks with you. You are not walking through this valley by yourself. The shepherd does not send you ahead to brave it alone. He does not call from the mountaintop while you wander in the dark. No, He descends into the valley with you. He walks where you walk. He breathes where you breathe. He weeps when you weep. And His presence changes everything. When fear begins to whisper its lies, when dread tries to wrap its fingers around your hope, when despair says, "This is the end," the shepherd's voice breaks through with gentleness. "Do not fear, for I am with you." He does not only lead you in green pastures. He walks beside you through the darkest places, too. And still, He is not shaken. Phil. He is not afraid. Phil. He is not far. His rod and His staff, they are not just symbolic. They are strength in your weakness. They are comfort in your confusion. They are assurance when all else feels unsure. The rod protects you from what you cannot see. The staff draws you close when you start to drift. They are not burdens in His hand. They are tools of mercy. They are symbols of care. They are reminders that even in the valley, you are guarded. You are guided. You are held. And it is in the valley that trust is deepened. It is in the shadow that light becomes more precious. It is in the low place that you learn the power of presence. You are not failing because you feel weary. You are not weak because your heart trembles. You are simply human and deeply loved. The shepherd does not ask you to pretend the valley is easy. He only asks you to remember you are not alone. You may not see the end of the road yet, but you can know the one who walks it with you. You may not understand the reason for the valley, but you can lean into the comfort of the shepherd's nearness. There is a peace that doesn't come from knowing the map. It comes from knowing the guide. And He is here, right now, right beside you. So even here, even now, you can breathe. You can rest. You can close your eyes tonight without fear, because the one who holds the stars is holding you. And the valley you're walking through is not your final destination. It is only a passage, a shadowed path that leads to deeper trust, a holy place where the shepherd walks closest, a sacred space where fear is replaced by comfort. You are not walking toward ruin. You are walking through restoration. And the shepherd will not let you go. Not here. Not ever. So sleep now, beloved soul. Let the rod and the staff be your comfort. Let the shepherd's presence be your peace. You are not forsaken. You are not forgotten. You are not alone in this valley. You are held. You are loved. You are safe. And morning will come again. Psalm 23 verse 4, NKJV. There is a hush that falls over the heart when the path grows dim, when the scenery changes from light to shadow, when the sun slips behind the hills and the soul begins to whisper, "Where am I now, Lord?" Even the strongest hearts encounter valleys. Even the most faithful walkers find themselves surrounded by shadows. But hear this, gentle soul. A shadow is not the absence of light. It is simply the passing of it. And in the valley of the shadow of death, where fears try to rise, where uncertainties echo louder than answers, where silence wraps itself around your questions, you are not alone. I will fear no evil. Not because evil doesn't exist, but because the shepherd does. Because the shepherd walks with you. You are not walking through this valley by yourself. The shepherd does not send you ahead to brave it alone. He does not call from the mountaintop while you wander in the dark. No, he descends into the valley with you. He walks where you walk. He breathes where you breathe. He weeps when you weep. And his presence changes everything. When fear begins to whisper its lies. When dread tries to wrap its fingers around your hope. When despair says, "This is the end." The shepherd's voice breaks through with gentleness. Do not fear, for I am with you. He does not only lead you in green pastures. He walks beside you through the darkest places, too. And still, he is not shaken. Phil. He is not afraid. Phil. He is not far. His rod and his staff, they are not just symbolic. They are strength in your weakness. They are comfort in your confusion. They are assurance when all else feels unsure. The rod protects you from what you cannot see. The staff draws you close when you start to drift. They are not burdens in his hand. They are tools of mercy. They are symbols of care. They are reminders that even in the valley, you are guarded. You are guided. You are held. And it is in the valley that trust is deepened. It is in the shadow that light becomes more precious. It is in the low place that you learn the power of presence. You are not failing because you feel weary. You are not weak because your heart trembles. You are simply human and deeply loved. The shepherd does not ask you to pretend the valley is easy. He only asks you to remember you are not alone. You may not see the end of the road yet, but you can know the one who walks it with you. You may not understand the reason for the valley, but you can lean into the comfort of the shepherd's nearness. There is a peace that doesn't come from knowing the map. It comes from knowing the guide. And he is here, right now, right beside you. So even here, even now, you can breathe. You can rest. You can close your eyes tonight without fear. Because the one who holds the stars is holding you. And the valley you're walking through is not your final destination. It is only a passage. A shadowed path that leads to deeper trust. A holy place where the shepherd walks closest. A sacred space where fear is replaced by comfort. You are not walking toward ruin. You are walking through restoration. And the shepherd will not let you go. Not here. Not ever. So sleep now, beloved soul. Let the rod and the staff be your comfort. Let the shepherd's presence be your peace. You are not forsaken. You are not forgotten. You are not alone in this valley. You are held. You are loved. You are safe. And morning will come again. Surely. Not maybe. Not sometimes. Not only when skies are blue or when your steps feel steady. Surely. Without question. Without pause. Without limit. Goodness. The tender kindness of God that meets you in your daily moments. In the quiet breath before morning light. In the unexpected provision. In the gentle smile from a stranger. In the peace that comes for no earthly reason at all. And mercy. That holy love that holds you even when you failed. That runs after you when you wander. That lifts you from the dust when you feel unworthy. That restores you again and again and again. These two, goodness and mercy, they do not just visit occasionally. They do not knock once and leave if unanswered. They follow you. They pursue you. They accompany you like a faithful shadow, never leaving your side. When you look back on your life, dear soul, you'll find their footprints behind you. Even in seasons you thought you walked alone, you will see it was mercy that carried you. It was goodness that held you upright when your strength was gone. There is no step you've taken that they did not follow. No tear you've cried that they did not witness. No failure too great for their embrace. Even now, they are here. Right behind you. Right beside you. Covering you like the softest blanket of grace. And this is not a fleeting promise. It is a forever truth. All the days of your life. Not just your good days. Not only the holy ones when your prayers are strong and your faith feels full. But all your days. The broken ones. The bitter ones. The confused and questioning ones. Yes, even on those days when your heart is tired and your soul feels silent. Still, goodness and mercy remain. Still, they follow. Still, they do not leave. And the end of this journey, it is not emptiness. It is not abandonment. It is not the silence of a cold grave. No. It is home. It is glory. It is the dwelling place of the Lord. You are not walking toward an unknown future. You are being led home to the very heart of God. And you will dwell there. Not visit. Not pass through. But dwell. You will abide in the presence of the one who has always loved you. You will rest in the house built by mercy. You will sit at the table where grace never runs out. Forever. Not for a season. Not for a moment. But forever. This is the song that silences fear. This is the lullaby that comforts the soul. You are not wandering. You are being gently led. You are not pursued by judgment. You are followed by goodness. You are not trailed by shame. You are wrapped in mercy. And the shepherd who walked you through valleys, who led you to still waters, who restored your soul time and again, he is leading you home. So tonight, rest in that truth. Let it settle over your spirit like a gentle hush. Let it cradle you in peace deeper than understanding. You are not lost. You are not forgotten. You are not without direction. You are being led. By grace, by love, by the very hand of God. And even now, in this quiet hour, in this sacred stillness, goodness and mercy are near. They are the gentle rhythm behind your days, the faithful companions on your path, the soft echo of heaven's kindness. So sleep now, beloved. Let your heart be still. You are being led. You are being loved. You are being kept. Forever. Isaiah 43 verse 1, NKJV. Fear not. How softly those words settle on the soul, like dew upon the thirsty ground, like a whisper from heaven meant just for you. Fear not. Not because the storm has stilled, not because the path is smooth, but because He is near, because His presence goes before you, because His love surrounds you, because His voice breaks through the shadows and gently speaks your name. Fear not, for I have redeemed you. You are not forgotten in the crowd. You are not lost among the many. You are not just a face in the multitude. You are one He saw, one He loved, one He came to rescue. He saw you in the mire. He saw you in the mess. He saw you in the pit no one else could reach. And He came. He came for you. He paid the cost. He took your shame and wore it as His own. He carried your burden and made it His burden. He bore your sorrow and laid it upon Himself. Redeemed. Not just repaired. Not just patched up. But bought back, completely, entirely, eternally. You belong to Him. You are no longer a prisoner to guilt. No longer a captive of the past. No longer bound by what once was. I have called you by your name. What beauty there is in those words. Your name, spoken from the mouth of the Almighty. Your name, known by the one who knit you together. Your name, held in the heart of heaven. He does not call you by your failure. He does not call you by your weakness. He does not label you by your struggle. He calls you by your name. The one He wrote upon His hand. The one He speaks in the stillness. The one He carries with tenderness. And then He says the words that change everything. You are mine. Not just visited. Not just noticed. Not just tolerated. You are His. His child. His delight. His own. Let that sink into your soul tonight. You belong. You are not drifting through life unseen. You are not unnoticed in the quiet. You are not abandoned in your pain. You are His. Held. Known. Chosen. Loved. And when fears whisper, when doubts rise like waves, when the night feels too long and your heart feels weary, remember these words. Fear not, for you are mine. There is safety in belonging. There is peace in being known. There is comfort in knowing that no matter what the day brought, no matter what your mind carries, no matter what the world said about you, God calls you His. Let that be the lullaby to your spirit. Let that truth rock you gently into rest. Let it cover you like a blanket of peace. He has redeemed you. He has called you. You are His. And in that sacred reality, you can breathe deeply. You can rest securely. You can sleep in peace. For the one who holds your soul never sleeps, and He calls you His own. When you pass through the waters, not if, not perhaps, not only when you are strong enough, but when, because there will be waters, there will be rivers, there will be fires. But beloved soul, you are not alone. The God of the deep places walks with you, the one who set boundaries for the oceans, the one who commands the fire and tells the flame how far it may go. He walks beside you. You may feel the water rise, but it will not overcome you. You may feel the flames draw near, but you will not be consumed, because He is there, not watching from a distance, not calling from the shore, not merely observing your struggle, but with you. He walks through the waters with you, holding your hand when the current pulls, lifting your head when the tide is strong, whispering calm when your breath grows short. He is not only the God of mountaintops. He is the God of the valleys, the God of the rivers, the God of the fire. And in every moment of trial, He becomes your shelter. He becomes your shield. He becomes the very ground beneath your trembling feet. You will pass through the waters. Yes, you will pass through. Not drown in them. Not remain stuck in them forever. Not be swallowed by them. You will pass through, because He is faithful. And when you walk through the fire, oh, that fire may come close. Its heat may press near. Its glow may flicker in your shadow. But still, you will not be burned. Because He is the same God who stood with 3 in the furnace, and not even the smell of smoke clung to them. He is the same God who calls the flames by name and says, "You shall not scorch my beloved." Not a strand of your hair shall be harmed apart from His will. Not a moment of your journey escapes His hand. Not a tear you cry in the fire goes unnoticed. He is with you, through every flame, through every surge of water, through every moment when you thought, "I won't make it through this one." But you did, because He held you, not because you were strong, but because He never let go. Let your heart breathe in this truth. You are not walking alone. You are not drowning. You are not being destroyed. You are being carried. You are being protected. You are being preserved, through it all. And even in the nights that feel long, even in the heaviness of sorrow, even in the silent tears and the quiet prayers, He is there, with you, through you, for you. His presence is your safe place. His nearness is your rescue. And His love is your assurance that this storm, this season, this flame, will not have the final word. He will bring you through. You may be in the waters now, but they will not wash away the promises He has made over your life. You may be in the fire now, but it will only refine what cannot be destroyed: your faith, your hope, your trust in Him. So, let your soul rest tonight. Let it be still in the presence of the one who walks with you, the one who does not leave when the river rages, the one who does not turn away when the heat rises. He stays. He holds you. He strengthens you. And He will bring you safely through. You are not forgotten in the flood. You are not abandoned in the flames. You are guarded. You are cherished. You are seen. You are held. And even here, especially here, you are deeply loved. You were never meant to face the storm alone. This journey, this path marked with tears and questions, it was never meant to be walked in isolation. The rivers you cross, the flames you endure, they do not speak of your abandonment. They reveal your keeper. When the wind howls and the waves crash against your chest, remember this: The one who walks on water has not left you. The one who parted seas and led his people through the depths still leads you now. You are not drifting aimlessly. You are moving forward, through. Through, not because you're fearless, but because you are accompanied. When you cannot see the shore, he sees it. When your legs grow weary, his arms sustain you. When your heart is overwhelmed, he is the rock that will not be moved. His presence is not an abstract comfort. It is the very breath in your lungs when fear would have stolen your peace. It is the gentle nudge that keeps your spirit afloat when sorrow weighs heavy. It is the whisper of grace in your ear when the darkness tries to shout. You are not being undone. You are being shaped, refined, deepened. Even here, in the waters, he is weaving purpose into pain. Even here, in the flames, he is forging something eternal. Something not even fire can destroy. You may not understand it now, but there is a beauty forming beneath the surface of what you cannot yet see. Perhaps, even now, he is teaching you to hear differently, to listen not with your ears, but with your heart, to sense his nearness not in the absence of trouble, but in the abundance of grace. And oh, beloved soul, how close he is in the waters! How tender his voice in the fire! Sometimes it takes the silence of the deep for us to hear the gentle voice of God. Sometimes it takes the heat of trial for us to feel the cool shade of his presence. Sometimes it takes the breaking to understand the depth of the one who binds. And still, he holds you. Not just your hand, but your heart. Not just your steps, but your story. Not just your present, but your eternity. There is nothing you pass through that has not already passed through his loving hands. No river rises higher than his promise. No flame burns beyond his command. So when you lie down tonight, let this truth wrap around you like a blanket. He is with you. Right now. Right here. Right in this moment. Not when you have figured everything out. Not when you've climbed out of the storm. Not when you feel holy enough, worthy enough, strong enough. But now. In the mess. In the ache. In the not yet. He is present. And his presence makes even this night, this trial, this season, a holy place. Because wherever he is, there is peace. Wherever he stands, there is victory. Wherever he speaks, there is life. You are not alone in the dark. You are not lost in the flood. You are not forgotten in the flames. He has called you by name. He has walked ahead of you. He surrounds you now. And one day when you look back, you'll see the footprints beside you. You'll remember the comfort in the night. You'll realize that even when you were trembling, he was holding you close. You were never without him. So let your soul find rest tonight. You are going to make it through. Because he is with you. Because he is faithful. Because he is who he says he is, always. He is the one who walks on water. The one who shuts the mouths of lions. The one who calms the storm with a word. And the one who stands with you in every fire. He is your God. And you are his beloved. There is a stillness that comes not from the absence of storms, but from the certainty of his presence in them. The world may tremble around you, but the hands that hold you do not shake. The winds may roar, the waters may rise, but the peace he gives flows deeper still. You are not merely drifting through life. You are being guided, carefully, lovingly, purposefully, by a shepherd who sees beyond the horizon. You are not forgotten in the storm. You are focused in his care. Every drop of water that touches your journey, every flame that flickers near your path, is under the watchful eye of the one who formed you in the secret place. And when you feel like the storm is louder than his voice, know this: he never shouts over the noise, he speaks peace into it. His words calm the chaos. His presence silences fear. His promises hold you like a harbor for your heart. You may not feel strong right now, but strength is not the absence of weakness. It is the anchoring of your soul in the one who cannot be moved. And he has already spoken over you. You are mine. Before the first tear fell, he called you his. Before the first fire flickered, he had already planned your rescue. Before the waves even formed, he had prepared a path through them. Not a path around, but a path through. Because in the through, he shows you who he is. In the through, you learn to trust not in your ability, but in His faithfulness. In the through, you discover that even when you are afraid, His love is unshaken. In the through, you see how deeply He knows your name, how gently He carries your soul, how faithfully He keeps His word. Tonight, let your spirit be wrapped in this truth. You are not failing. You are not forsaken. You are following, step by step, breath by breath, the one who knows every bend in your journey. And He is not in a hurry. He walks with you at the pace of grace, not pressure. At the pace of healing, not haste. At the pace of peace, not panic. You don't have to strive to stay afloat, just rest in the arms that have always held you. There is no panic in heaven, only peace. There is no rush in His love, only rhythm. There is no fear in His promises, only fullness. So breathe deeply now. Let go of the burdens you've carried all day. Lay down the fear you tried so hard to manage. Release the worry that keeps circling your mind. There is no need to hold everything together, because He is already holding you. You are not the anchor, He is. You are not the light, He is. You are not the Savior, He is. And He is enough. He has always been. So tonight, sleep not in your own strength, but in the strength of His promises. Sleep not in the comfort of circumstance, but in the certainty of His nearness. You are not forgotten. You are not alone. You are deeply, intimately, eternally known by the God who walks with you through every water and every flame. There is something sacred about being carried. Something holy in the quiet surrender of the soul when it realizes it no longer has to strive, only trust. The waters may feel deep, but His arms are deeper. The fire may look fierce, but His shield is stronger. And when the weight feels too heavy to bear, remember, He never asked you to carry it alone. You were not made to be your own refuge. You were not called to be your own savior. You were created to be held by the one who walks through every valley with you. And He doesn't walk ahead of you, rushing. He walks beside you, present. Not only watching your journey, but joining it. Not only commanding peace, but becoming your peace. When your heart aches from the unknowns, when your thoughts circle like restless winds, when you lie awake beneath the burden of what-ifs and what-nexts, remember, His presence is not a distant echo. It's a whisper close enough to calm the trembling. He is the stillness you crave, the safety you long for, the shepherd who never sleeps and never leaves. You may not see the end of the road yet, but He sees the whole story. You may not understand the path ahead, but He wrote the map with mercy and marked it with grace. Every step has purpose, even when it doesn't feel that way. Every tear has meaning, even when you don't understand it. Every delay, every detour, every closed door is known by Him, held by Him, shaped by Him. You are not walking through random waters. You are walking through waters ordained to reveal His strength in your weakness. You are not enduring pointless fires. You are passing through flames that cannot scorch the soul He protects. There is beauty in this refining. There is purpose in this pressure. There is promise in this passage. So let your heart breathe slowly again. Let your soul unclench from the grip of fear. Let your spirit rest in the embrace of a God who never lets go. He does not measure your worth by how well you endure the trial. He treasures your trust in Him through it. And even in your weariness, He delights in you. Even in your doubt, He draws near. Even when your prayers are groans and your praises are whispers, He listens. He hears every word you cannot speak. He counts every sigh. And He answers with presence. Not always with escape, but always with Emmanuel, God with us. Let that truth cradle you tonight. Let it become your lullaby. Let it echo softly through your soul until peace returns again. You are not forgotten in the storm. You are found in the center of His heart. You are not alone in the fire. You are held in the center of His hand. You are not lost in the darkness. You are wrapped in the everlasting light of His love. And when you rise tomorrow, you will rise not in fear, but in the quiet confidence that you were never walking alone. Not for one moment. Not for one breath. Sometimes the journey is not about rushing to the other side, but about discovering who God is in the middle of it. Sometimes the lesson isn't in the escape, but in the encounter, because it is in the deep waters that we come to know Him deeply. It is in the pressing fire that we find His faithfulness refined. The world may say, "You're drowning," but heaven whispers, "You're being carried." The world may point to the flame and say, "This will consume you," but heaven smiles and says, "This will refine you." The voice of fear is loud, but the voice of God is still and stronger. And while fear tells you the storm will undo you, God reminds you the storm will not define you. You are not what you've endured. You are who He calls you: beloved, chosen, held, protected, called by name. Yes, you are called by name, not numbered, not overlooked, not forgotten. He calls you by name in the fire. He speaks tenderly to you in the flood. He reaches for you in the chaos and draws you close, heart to heart. Even now, even in this very moment, He is closer than the pain, closer than the doubt, closer than the fear. His nearness is not something you must earn. It is something He promised. And God does not break promises. Let that truth settle over you like a blanket of peace tonight. You don't have to understand everything. You only need to rest in the One who does. You don't have to hold it all together. You only need to be held. And He who parted the sea, who walked on water, who silenced storms, is still doing it. Still parting the waters for you. Still calming the waves around you. Still reaching into the depths to rescue and restore. And even when you feel unseen in your pain, He sees every trembling part of your heart. Even when no one understands the weight you carry, He carries you. Even when the night feels endless, He is the dawn already rising within you. So let your heart rest now, not because everything is fixed, but because everything is held. Held by hands that will not let you go. Held by mercy that does not run dry. Held by love that is not shaken by storms or fire. He is not waiting for you on the other side of this trial. He is walking with you through it. Right here. Right now. And His presence is your promise. His peace is your portion. You are safe. Even in the waters. You are secure. Even in the fire. And when the winds roar again, when the flood rises again, when the flame tries again, you will stand not in your strength, but in His shelter. You will rest not in the absence of trouble, but in the presence of the One who never fails. Let this night cradle you in that comfort. Let your breathing slow. Let your spirit be quieted. Let the peace of Christ, deeper than understanding, wrap around you like soft light. And may the whisper of His word echo gently in your soul. I will be with you. Always. Isaiah 43 verse 2, NKJV. There is something sacred about the silence of the night, when the world grows still, and the soul leans in to listen. And in that stillness, the voice of God does not shout. It whispers. A whisper that travels through the fire. A whisper that echoes through the waters. A whisper that says, I have not left you. You see, God does not promise the absence of the storm, but He promises His presence in it. He does not say the waters won't rise, but He says they won't overcome you. He does not say the fire won't come, but He says it won't consume you, because He is the keeper of the flame, the master of the sea, the shield in the battle, the anchor in the depths. And every moment you thought you were alone, He was already walking beside you. The moments when tears flowed silently on your pillow, He saw them. The nights when your breath caught in your chest, He was there, near enough to catch every trembling sigh. The prayers you couldn't find the words to speak, He heard those too. Because your Father does not need perfect sentences. He hears your heart, and every cry of your spirit reaches His throne, like incense rising in the dark. Even your silence is sacred to Him. You may think the fire has left you scorched, but He sees you as gold refined. You may feel the waters have swept away your strength, but He is using the tide to carry you closer to His heart. And what feels like the end is often the beginning of something holy. For when all else is stripped away, When you've come to the end of yourself, you begin to see the one who was always enough. He is not just the God who rescues. He is the God who remains. He remains in the mess. He remains in the ache. He remains in the moments you question everything. And still, He calls you by name. Still, He speaks peace over your chaos. Still, He leads you through the valley and sets your feet upon solid ground. Not one flame will touch your identity in Him. Not one wave can wash away His promises. Not one storm can silence the plans He has for you. Because your life is not in the hands of the fire, but in the hands of the Father. And when He speaks, the waters listen. When He moves, the mountains tremble. When He draws near, fear loses its power. So tonight, you can rest in that gentle assurance. Not because of what you feel, but because of what He has spoken. You are not forgotten. You are not forsaken. You are not abandoned. You are accompanied. You are carried. You are cradled in everlasting arms. And no matter what rises tomorrow, the one who holds the stars holds you still. The night has a way of unveiling the truths we try to silence during the day. It's in the hush between heartbeats, in the sighs beneath the covers, in the silent staring at ceilings, that the questions begin to whisper. Will I make it through this? Does God still see me? Am I really strong enough for this season? But listen, there is a deeper voice that answers. Not with thunder, not with lightning, but with presence, with nearness, with peace. God does not rush past your weakness. He does not avoid the ache in your chest. He enters it. He walks into your storm, not around it. He steps into your fire, not after it's cooled. He meets you not after the healing, but right in the bleeding. This is the miracle of grace. That God is not waiting for you on the other side of the river, but standing in the middle of it, hand stretched toward yours. He does not flinch at the flames that frighten you. He does not recoil from the flood that overwhelms you. He is the God who walks through it all. And every time you feel like you are sinking, His grip is stronger than your fear. His mercy is deeper than the current. His love is fiercer than the flame. You may not understand the purpose of this valley, but you can trust the one who leads you through it. For He is not only the God of the mountaintop. He is the shepherd of the shadows. He leads you gently. He speaks softly. He covers you completely. You are not navigating this wilderness alone. The ground may shake beneath your feet, but the rock beneath you does not move. And when your strength falters, His does not. When your vision blurs, His remains clear. When your faith flickers, His faithfulness burns bright. You are not sustained by your own might. You are sustained by a God who never tires, who never sleeps, who never lets go. So rest now, beloved one. Let the river rush. Let the fire crackle. Neither has power over your destiny, because the one who commands the waves also calls you His child, and His word is more enduring than any storm. Tonight, let your spirit exhale. You are safe. You are seen. You are held. Even here. Especially here. There are moments in life when the waves rise higher than your hope, when your prayers feel unanswered, and your strength slips like sand between trembling hands. But even there, especially there, God remains. He is not only the God who parts seas. He is the one who walks with you through deep waters. He is the calm in the chaos, the steadiness in the storm. There is no need for perfect composure, no requirement to pretend you're unshaken, because your Father never asked you to carry this alone. His presence is not dependent on your confidence. His faithfulness does not hinge on how strong you feel today. He is not watching from a distance. He is moving with you, step by step, heartbeat by heartbeat. Every tear is noticed. Every sigh is sacred. Every groan too deep for words is translated by His Spirit. The fire may roar, but it cannot destroy what God has sealed in you. Your identity is not forged by circumstance. It is carved by eternity. You are not defined by what you've lost, but by who has claimed you. And you, dear soul, are His. You may feel weary, but your weariness does not scare him. You may feel like your faith is fragile, but his grip is firm. You may feel lost, but you are still guided. When you don't know the way forward, he becomes the way. When you feel too weak to hold on, he becomes the one who holds you. There is no shame in needing rest. There is no shame in falling to your knees. For it is in surrender that the greatest strength is found. Not the strength to push forward, but the strength to be still and trust. And oh, how powerful stillness becomes in the arms of God. When the world demands noise, he offers quiet. When the journey feels heavy, he whispers rest. His presence does not always come with thunder. Sometimes it arrives in the hush. A peace so deep it settles beneath the surface of your soul. Even now, in this quiet hour, he is surrounding you, not just as a far-off protector, but as a near and intimate refuge. The one who numbered the stars also numbers every hair on your head. The one who paints the sky with sunrise paints your life with purpose, even in the dim hours. So when the floodwaters threaten, remember, he walks with you. When the fire blazes high, remember, he covers you. When night stretches long, remember, he watches over you. You are not alone. You are not forgotten. You are not forsaken. You are loved beyond comprehension, carried beyond exhaustion, and kept in the palm of everlasting hands. And those hands have never dropped a soul that trusted in him. So close your eyes now. Let the word echo softly within you. You are safe. You are held. You are his. Isaiah 43 verse 2, NKJV. There is a quiet comfort in knowing that you are not walking unfamiliar paths alone. The road may wind in ways you never expected. The sky may dim. The winds may howl. But the presence of God remains your steady companion. He is not a distant God waiting at the finish line. He is the one who walks every mile with you. You do not have to see what's ahead to be at peace. You only need to know who is beside you. And he, this faithful shepherd, this gentle guide, is nearer than your breath. Even now, while the night hushes the world around you, he leans close to your soul, not to rush you forward, not to demand perfection, but simply to remind you, I am with you. Not only when the sun shines, not only when the path is clear, but also, especially, when the waters rise, and the fire glows with threat. This is where his promises bloom brightest. This is where his voice becomes clearest. You do not need to fear the deep places, for it is in those depths that he holds you most tenderly. You do not need to resist the wilderness, for it is there that he becomes your oasis. You do not need to be afraid of the fire, for even flames are subject to his presence, and his presence changes everything. The same God who stood with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the furnace now stands with you in your own trial. The same God who parted the sea for Moses now makes a way for you where none seems to exist. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked. You are not left to figure it out on your own. You are chosen. You are carried. You are covered. And even when you feel uncertain, he is not. Even when you feel shaken, he is unmoved. Even when you feel unworthy, his love remains undiminished. Because his promises are not based on your performance. They are anchored in his nature. And his nature is steadfast. His mercy is endless. His grace is sufficient. So tonight, rest your heart in this truth. You are never alone in your journey. Even if no one else sees your tears, he does. Even if no one else understands your burden, he does. And he will walk you through every river, every fire, every valley, until you stand again in wide, open places of peace. He is not just leading you out of trouble. He is leading you into deeper trust. He is drawing you close not despite the struggle, but through it. And one day, you'll look back and see it clearly, that even in the hardest parts of your story, you were never outside the reach of his hand. So breathe deeply now. Let the weight of worry fall away. Let the fear dissolve in the warmth of his voice. You are safe. You are guided. You are loved. There is a holy stillness that descends when the soul surrenders to divine assurance. Not everything needs to be understood for peace to settle in. Not every answer must be revealed for the heart to rest. Because peace does not come from clarity, it comes from presence. And His presence is here, closer than the breath in your lungs. You are not forgotten in the flood. You are not abandoned in the fire. You are not alone in your silent struggle. There is a hand extended through the chaos, a steadying grace in the storm. God never promised the absence of deep waters. He promised His presence in them. He never guaranteed an escape from the fire. But He declared His nearness through it. And that makes all the difference. You are walking through, not drowning. You are passing through, not perishing. The fire will not consume you because His word surrounds you like armor. The river will not pull you under because His promise upholds you like wings. Every step He watches. Every breath He knows. Every tear He catches. You may not see the way ahead clearly now, but He does. You may feel like you're treading water, but He's lifting you higher. There is a grace that carries you when your strength runs out. There is a mercy that surrounds you when your heart feels faint. And sometimes that is the miracle, not the removal of the storm, but the peace that wraps you in the middle of it. Not the absence of trouble, but the abundance of presence. Even when you whisper prayers that feel unanswered. Even when you feel weary from holding on. Even when your spirit aches for relief. He is near. He is not pacing in worry. He is not wringing His hands. He is not uncertain about your future. He holds the map you cannot see. He speaks calm to waters that rage. He knows the outcome before your heart even trembles. So rest in this. The same God who carved rivers through the wilderness is still making a way for you. The same God who rained manna from heaven is still providing daily mercies. The same God who whispered to Elijah in a gentle breeze is still speaking softly to your soul tonight. You are not merely surviving, you are being shaped. Every trial, every test, every tear becomes a testimony. You are not in the fire by accident. You are in the fire under divine supervision. And when you come through it, and you will carry the fragrance of His presence upon your life. You will walk with deeper compassion. You will speak with richer faith. You will love with purer heart. Because the fire that threatened to consume you has only refined you. So let go of fear tonight. Let go of the lies that say you are forsaken. Let go of the thought that you must navigate this alone. The Lord is with you. He is your strength. He is your peace. He is your shield. And He will walk with you until you come through safely. Not barely surviving, but deeply transformed. So breathe again. Lay your burdens down. And listen. The fire may be burning, but the voice of God is louder still. You are not alone. You never were. There is a sacred promise woven into every trial. A divine thread of grace that holds us, even when everything else feels fragile. The waters may rise. The winds may howl. The flames may crackle around you. But listen. There is one who stands in the middle of it all, unmoved. He does not flinch at the roaring current. He does not retreat from the blaze. He does not forget where you are. He steps into the storm with you, not watching from a distance, but walking beside you. This is the God who split the Red Sea with a breath. The God who cooled the flames for 3 faithful hearts in Babylon. The God who calmed the tempest with a whisper. And He is still doing it now. He is the God who carries you, not just through peaceful days, but through turbulent nights. Not just through mountaintop joys, but through valley-shadowed sorrows. And oh, how deeply He knows your heart. He knows the weight you've been carrying silently. He knows the questions you've been afraid to ask. He knows the ache that words cannot touch. But even more than knowing, He responds. He moves toward you with tenderness, not condemnation. He wraps His arms around you in quiet reassurance, not rebuke. You do not have to be strong for Him to come close. You do not have to be composed to be cradled by His love. It is in your trembling He draws nearer. It is in your weakness His strength shines brightest. You may feel like you're barely holding on, but He is holding you. You may think the river is about to sweep you away, but he is the anchor beneath your feet. You may believe the fire will leave you scarred, but he is refining you, shaping you, preparing you. And when it is over, when you step out of this season, you will see it clearly. You were not forsaken. You were being formed. You were not drowning. You were being delivered. You were not forgotten. You were being deeply known and carefully led. Sometimes, the greatest miracle is not escape, but endurance. Not absence of pain, but presence of peace. So tonight, rest in the arms of the one who walks through waters and fire with you. Let your fears dissolve into his promises. Let your questions rest beneath his sovereignty. Let your weary soul fall into the rhythm of his faithfulness. Because even in this, you are never alone. His eyes are upon you. His hands surround you. His heart beats with compassion for you. And the waters will not overwhelm you. And the fire will not consume you. He has spoken it. He has promised it. He has sealed it with his love. You are his. And that is enough. So sleep now, wrapped in peace. Sleep now, held in grace. Sleep now, knowing that the one who watches over you never slumbers nor sleeps. He will see you through every river, every fire, every storm. Psalm 23 verses 1-3, NKJV. Softly now, let us enter the still waters of his peace. Let the noise of the day fade behind you, and let the shepherd's voice lead your heart to rest. He is not a distant ruler, nor a silent observer in your pain. He is the shepherd, your shepherd, who walks before you, beside you, and behind you. You are not just another face in the crowd to him. You are known by name. You are called tenderly. You are guided gently. The shepherd knows when your heart is weary, when your thoughts are tangled, when the path ahead seems unclear, and when your soul is dry. He does not rush you. He does not push you forward. Instead, he brings you to a quiet place. Green pastures, still waters, gentle winds. And he says, "Rest here with me a while." Can you feel it now? That soft invitation. Not to perform, not to prove, not to strive, but simply to be. To lie down in his presence. To let your shoulders drop. To exhale the burdens you've been carrying. He restores your soul, not through noise or haste, but through stillness, through peace, through his nearness. And how kind he is! How tender in his leading! He does not lead you by force, but by love. He doesn't shout commands from a distance, but speaks softly to your heart. He knows the path through the valleys. He knows the way up the mountain. And he never asks you to walk alone. Even when the road bends through shadowed places, even when your steps are slow and unsure, he stays beside you. He does not abandon you when the night falls. He does not grow tired of guiding you. You may stumble, but he does not. You may lose your way, but he never loses you. He will not let you go wandering without a way back. He will not let your heart be lost without a call home. He is faithful like that. Always has been. Always will be. And tonight, as you settle beneath the quiet sky, let your soul remember. The shepherd watches while you sleep. The shepherd guards what you cannot see. The shepherd surrounds you with peace even in the darkest hour. He knows your pace. He knows your path. And he is not in a hurry with your healing. So rest, beloved soul. Rest in the arms of the one who carries you. Rest in the care of the one who restores you. Rest in the love of the shepherd who never sleeps, never strays, never leaves. You are safe. You are held. You are deeply known. And there is no place, no shadow, no sorrow, that can separate you from his presence. The shepherd is near. Let your heart lie down in his peace tonight. There is a valley we all must pass through. A place where light seems dim, where shadows stretch long and silence grows heavy. It is not always a valley of outward sorrow. Sometimes, it is simply the quiet ache of the soul, the weight of questions unanswered, the press of burdens we do not know how to name. But even in the deepest valley, you are not abandoned. The shepherd walks with you still. His presence does not retreat when the path grows dark. His voice does not quiet when fear draws near. He does not leave you to navigate the shadows alone. He does not watch from afar. He walks beside you, every step, every breath, every tear. And in that valley, though death may cast its shadow, it has no power to swallow you whole, because light walks with you, because peace holds your hand, because love has already claimed your soul. You may not see the way forward, but the shepherd does. You may not understand why this path winds so low, but he knows where it leads. And all the while, he holds in his hands the rod and the staff, tools not to harm, but to comfort, one to guard you from what would destroy you, and one to gently draw you back when you begin to wander. His discipline is not harsh. His correction is not cruel. It is the steady love of a shepherd who refuses to let you be lost, even when you cannot feel him, even when your prayers fall in silence. He is there, closer than breath. Sometimes comfort comes not in the absence of trouble, but in the presence of a faithful guide. Sometimes peace is not a change in circumstance, but a nearness of heart, his heart to yours. And that is the comfort that reaches you now. Not the promise of an easy road, but the assurance of a constant companion. Not a life without valleys, but a life never walked alone. So even now, even here, you do not need to fear. Even in uncertainty, you are surrounded. Even in the night, you are shepherded. And though your soul may tremble, his hands do not. Though your heart may falter, his faithfulness holds firm. You are not navigating the dark with trembling guesses. You are being led. You are not groping alone through the unknown. You are being guided. And when fear whispers loud, listen closer to the shepherd's voice. He is saying, I am with you. I will not leave you. My rod and my staff, they are your comfort, your safety, your strength. So breathe in this stillness. Let it soften the tight places in your chest. Let it quiet the anxious thoughts. Let it cradle your soul in peace. The shepherd walks with you, and because he does, you will not be overcome. Rest now. You are not alone. You are not forgotten. You are not forsaken. You are watched over, step by step, held close, breath by breath, loved deeply, heart to heart. And even in the valley, you are safe. The valley is not the end of the journey. It is merely a passage, a sacred space where faith is tested, but also where trust grows roots. And in that passage, the shepherd whispers softly, inviting your heart to lean on him more deeply than ever before. He does not ask you to pretend the shadows are not real. He does not ask you to deny your pain, your questions, your weariness. Instead, he offers something richer, the quiet confidence that you are accompanied. You may not always feel strong, but you are not required to be. Strength is not demanded from the sheep. It is the shepherd's strength that carries them. And you, beloved soul, are carried more than you know. When your spirit feels faint, he gathers you in his arms. When your steps falter, he does not rebuke you. He steadies you. When your tears fall quietly in the night, they do not go unnoticed. They are caught in the hands of the one who keeps watch. The shepherd sees every tear. He hears every sigh. He marks every silent prayer. And in his care, nothing is wasted, not even your pain. In the hidden places, he is shaping your soul, deepening your roots, strengthening your spirit. In the dark valley, he is not absent. He is active. He is comforting. He is guiding. He is revealing treasures in places you would not have chosen to walk. And though it may not feel like it now, this valley is not a detour. It is a sacred stretch of the journey, a place where divine love is poured out in unseen ways. Sometimes the deepest revelations of God's heart come in the quietest moments of our suffering. Sometimes we see him more clearly, when all other lights have faded. Sometimes we hear his voice most tenderly, when all else has gone still. So do not despise the valley. Do not rush past it. Do not believe the lie that you are alone here. Instead, rest. Rest in the assurance that the shepherd knows this way well. He has walked it before you. He walks it beside you. He walks it ahead of you. And He will walk you through. You are not wandering. You are being led. You are not forgotten. You are known in every detail. And soon, yes, soon, there will be green pastures again. There will be still waters once more. There will be restoration and gladness and joy. But for now, let your soul lie down in peace, even in the shadows, because even in the valley, you are held in perfect love, and perfect love casts out fear. So close your eyes, not in dread, but in trust. Lay down your burdens, not in despair, but in surrender. The shepherd is near. He has not left you. He never will. And even here, especially here, you are safe. Psalm 27 verse 1, KJV. There is a light that never dims, a flame that does not flicker with the winds of life, a radiance that does not depend on circumstance, a brilliance that shines even in the darkest night. This light, this eternal light, is the Lord Himself. And He does not only shine above you, He shines within you. The Lord is your light and your salvation, not merely a distant star in the sky, but a nearness that surrounds your every breath, a presence that fills the room where you lie now, a warmth that wraps around your heart like a gentle blanket. There is no fear in His light. There is no torment in His presence. There is no shadow that can stand when He speaks peace. So why should you be afraid? Why should you tremble at the voices of the world, when the voice of the One who made you whispers comfort in your soul? He is the strength of your life, not just your provider in a moment, but your enduring source, not just your help in a crisis, but the foundation that steadies every step, even when you feel weak, even when your heart quivers with uncertainty, even when your hands cannot grasp clarity. He remains unshaken. He does not require you to be strong for Him to stay near. He simply asks you to rest in His strength. And oh, how He delights in carrying you, like a shepherd cradling a lamb in the still of the night. He holds you gently, not because you've earned it, but because you are His, because you are loved, because you are precious in His sight. Even when you do not feel courageous, even when the path seems unfamiliar, His light goes before you, and in that light you are protected, you are seen, you are guided. Even now, in this quiet hour, while the world around you softens and dims, His light is unwavering. So let the fears that whisper fall silent. Let the anxiety that grips the edges of your mind dissolve like mist in morning sun. Let your soul exhale in the safety of His radiance. For He is not only the light that leads you, He is the light that lives in you. He is not only your deliverance, He is your dwelling place. And tonight, He calls you to rest, not in your strength but in His, not in your ability to understand, but in His promise to never leave. You are not walking through shadows alone. You are not facing battles abandoned. The light of the Lord is your armor. His salvation is your song. His presence is your home. So sink softly now into the arms of peace, knowing you are watched over by a strength that never falters, and a love that never grows weary. Sleep, beloved, not in fear but in faith. The Lord is your light, and you are never lost in the dark. There are moments in life when the shadows gather, when the winds howl louder than our prayers, when threats seem to rise like mountains, and opposition stands tall before our eyes. There are days when you feel surrounded, when troubles press in from every side, when burdens knock at your door, when the enemy seems bold, and fear tries to whisper that you are alone. But hear the word of the Lord. They stumbled and fell, not because you had the strength to fight, not because you had the answers prepared, but because the Lord was your defender. Even before the battle began, even before you cried out in fear, He had already stepped in front of you. He had already lifted His shield over your soul. When enemies rise, they may come with fierce words and intimidating forms, but they will stumble, not by your might, but by the hand of the One who walks before you. You see, No weapon formed against you shall prosper. They may form, but they will not flourish. They may rise, but they will not remain. For God is not idle in your battle. He is the warrior who never loses. He is the king who rides in glory, the defender who doesn't sleep, the guardian who stands at your right hand even when you feel weak. And what the enemy meant for harm, God will turn for good. You are not the prey. You are the protected. You are not the pursued. You are the preserved. Even when you feel overwhelmed, even when you cannot see how victory will come, you are already held in triumph. For when your enemies came near, they stumbled, not because you were strong, but because the presence of God was stronger still. So let your heart rest now. You don't need to rehearse the voices of fear. You don't need to relive the threats. You don't need to brace for every storm that rumbles. The Lord has already drawn the boundary lines around your life. He has already declared, "No farther." And what He speaks, no darkness can undo. Rest in the stillness of that truth tonight. You are not surrounded by enemies. You are surrounded by angels. You are not overcome. You are overshadowed by glory. You are not vulnerable. You are covered by the hand of the Almighty. So let your thoughts quiet down. Let your breathing soften. Let your soul remember the victory already spoken over you. There is peace in this place. There is protection in this hour. There is one who stands between you and every enemy, and His name is your shelter. They may come near, but they will fall. You will not. You are safe in the arms of your defender. So sleep, not in worry, but in wonder, at the God who keeps you, at the Lord who fights unseen battles on your behalf, at the strength that surrounds you when you feel most fragile. And know this, you are not only protected tonight, you are deeply, dearly loved. Even if the battle lines are drawn, even if the enemies encamp on every side, even if the night grows thick with noise and unrest, still, the heart that is anchored in God does not fear. Still, the soul that abides beneath His wings remains calm. Even though war rises, even though the storm gathers its fury, even though the noise grows louder outside your walls, there is a peace that cannot be shaken. Not because the world is quiet, but because the one who lives within you is greater than anything that rises against you. The battlefield may surround you, but your spirit can be seated in perfect rest. Because your confidence does not come from the absence of trouble. Your confidence comes from the presence of your shepherd. You may see the fires flare on every side, but you know that there is a pillar of cloud by day, a pillar of fire by night, a steady presence guiding you through every unknown. It is not boldness in yourself, but trust in the one who never fails. You are not standing in your own strength. You are held by unseen hands. You are covered by everlasting arms. And when fear tries to creep into your thoughts, when anxiety knocks softly at the edges of your rest, you remind yourself, "In this will I be confident." Confident in His mercy, confident in His promises, confident in His power to keep you. For if God is for you, who can be against you? Let the armies gather if they must. They will not reach you. Let the storms rise. They will not shake you. Let the shadows deepen. They will not swallow you. Because your heart has found its hiding place in the Lord. He is your high tower, your fortress strong, your shield and your song in the night. And this confidence, it is not fragile. It is not fleeting. It does not depend on your emotions or your mood or your circumstances. It is anchored in the eternal. It is grounded in the one who has never been defeated. So let your soul lie down in safety. Let your heart breathe deep in the quiet of His presence. Let your thoughts stop chasing what tomorrow holds, and instead, sink deeply into the peace He gives tonight. You are surrounded by divine protection. You are enfolded in unshakable peace. You are watched over by eyes that do not slumber. So do not be afraid. Do not let your heart be troubled. Do not dwell on what could go wrong. Dwell on the one who makes all things right. Let His peace be your pillow. Let His promises be your lullaby. Let his presence be your assurance. You are not forgotten in the battle. You are not exposed in the night. You are not left defenseless. You are held. You are covered. You are kept. Though war may rise around you, there is a stillness within you that no chaos can touch. It is the stillness of knowing that your God is near, that your Lord is mighty, that your heart is safe, that you can lie down and sleep in peace, because he makes you dwell in safety, and that is your confidence, now and forever. Isaiah 41 verse 10, KJV. There are nights when fear whispers louder than peace, when shadows stretch long across the mind, and the heart feels small in the face of unknown things. But hear the voice that speaks gently through the hush. Fear not, for I am with you. This is not a shallow comfort. This is the voice of the everlasting God, the Creator of the heavens and the earth, bending low to meet your trembling soul. I am with thee. Let those words wrap around your heart like a blanket in the cold night. Let them settle into every corner of your anxious thoughts. Let them be the echo that answers every question your soul tries to ask in the dark. You are not alone. Not in your worries. Not in your waiting. Not in your weariness. The one who formed the galaxies walks beside you now. Not distant, not far off, but near, closer than your breath. I am thy God. Not just the God of nations, but the God who sees you, the God who calls you by name, the God who knows every thread of your being. And he is not just near. He strengthens you. He helps you. He upholds you with his righteous hand. That hand, mighty and holy, scarred and strong, upholds you even now, even when your own strength falters, even when you feel like you're slipping, even when the weight feels too heavy to carry. His hand holds you. You may feel weak, but you are not abandoned. You may feel tired, but you are not forsaken. You may feel uncertain, but he remains steady. He is your strength when yours is gone. He is your help when you have none left to call. He is your upholding when you cannot stand on your own. So, let your soul exhale. Let the weight lift off your shoulders. Let the tension melt from your chest. You are not carrying this alone. The one who walks with you does not grow weary. The one who helps you never grows tired. The one who holds you never lets go. He does not ask you to be fearless in your own power. He invites you to be fearless in his presence. Not because the road is always smooth, but because he is always sure. Not because your heart always feels strong, but because his promises never fail. And on nights like this, when the world feels heavy, when the burdens feel too large, when the quiet is filled with questions, rest in this truth. You are not dismayed. You are not forgotten. You are not alone. He is with you. He is for you. He is upholding you. And when you cannot see the way ahead, when your hands feel empty and your heart feels faint, his hand still holds you fast. You can lean into that strength. You can breathe in his presence. You can sleep, because he never slumbers. He is watching. He is working. He is weaving grace into every hour of your night. So, close your eyes knowing you are sheltered beneath his hand. You are resting in his strength. You are upheld in the arms of righteousness. Fear not. Be not dismayed. You are safe in him. There is something sacred about surrendering your fears to the one who holds eternity in his hands. Something holy about laying down your worries, one by one, like fragile stones, and watching them be exchanged for peace. Peace that flows like a river. Peace that quiets the thunder of anxious thoughts. Peace that does not depend on circumstance, but on the steadfast presence of God. I will strengthen thee, not just for the battles you see, but even more for the battles within. For the days when weariness drapes itself over your soul like a heavy garment, when your heart wonders if it has anything left to give, when the silence feels like it echoes louder than hope, even there, he strengthens you, not with noise, not with pressure, but with a still, divine strength that steadies your soul and anchors your spirit. He knows what you need before your lips can form the prayer. He sees the tears that never fall. He hears the questions you don't know how to speak, and he answers, not always with explanations, but always with presence. I will help thee. What a tender promise! Not just a distant watching, but a personal involvement. A holy nearness that says, I see you. I know you. I will not let you fall. He helps you in the small things, the simple, hidden moments where no one else sees the weight you carry. And he helps you in the deep things, the moments when the ache of life feels too vast to explain. This is the kind of help that only heaven can offer. Help that strengthens not only your hands, but your heart. Help that lifts not only your burdens, but your spirit. Help that reminds you, you are not walking through this life alone. And when you feel like you've reached the end of yourself, when all you can offer is a quiet whisper of, Lord, I need you, he responds with love deeper than the oceans. He responds with strength beyond your measure. He responds with grace that never runs dry. I will uphold thee with the right hand of my righteousness. This is not just comfort. This is covenant. This is the God who cannot fail, promising to hold you, even when your own grip grows weak. His hand is not trembling. His hand is not uncertain. His hand is not weary. His hand is strong, sure, holy. And he does not just hold you to keep you from falling. He holds you so you may stand in the fullness of his strength, in the beauty of his light, in the safety of his presence. You are not suspended in your struggle. You are supported in his grace. There is no burden too great for his hand, no sorrow too deep for his heart, no fear too dark for his light. So tonight, let go. Let go of trying to carry everything on your own. Let go of rehearsing every worry in your mind. Let go of the weight you were never meant to bear alone. And rest. Rest in the strength that holds the universe. Rest in the help that never runs late. Rest in the hand that never lets go. You are not forgotten. You are not invisible. You are not too much or too little for God. You are his, and his promise is sure. So lay down every fear tonight. Lay down every burden, every doubt, every ache of the soul, and hear him whisper once more into your heart, Fear thou not, for I am with thee. When the night feels long, when the shadows feel thick, when the silence presses in like a heavy fog, there is a light that does not flicker. There is a salvation that does not fail. There is a strength that does not waver. The Lord is my light. Not a distant sun that fades behind clouds. Not a flickering candle in the wind, but a radiant, steady light that pierces through darkness and illuminates the path of peace. This light is not only around you, it is within you, a holy flame that cannot be extinguished by sorrow or stress or circumstance. And in that light, fear loses its grip. Fear is loud, yes, but his light is louder still. His light silences the lies that fear speaks. His light reveals the truth of who he is, faithful, present, near. So let his light wash over your heart tonight. Let it find the corners where fear has lingered, and gently drive it away. Let it shine into the places that feel forgotten or dim. Let it remind you, you are not alone in the dark. The Lord is my salvation. You don't have to save yourself. You don't have to climb your way to peace. You don't have to prove your worth or earn your place. Your salvation is not built on your strength. It is built on his mercy. It is finished. It is secure. It is eternal. He is your salvation on the days you feel strong. And he is your salvation on the days you feel small. You don't have to carry the weight of perfection. You only need to rest in the arms of grace. The Lord is the strength of my life. Not just in the crises, but in the ordinary moments. Not just when storms rage, but when the winds are still and your heart is quietly weary. His strength is not something you must earn. It is something you receive, like gentle rain soaking dry soil. His strength nourishes the roots of your soul. It whispers peace over your anxiety. It steadies your heartbeat. It lifts your eyes to hope again. Of whom shall I be afraid? Fear loses its authority in the presence of perfect love. And perfect love is not a concept, it's a person. A Savior who walks beside you. A shepherd who watches over you. A king who never leaves your side. So when fear rises, when questions swirl, when your heart feels unsteady, remember who stands beside you. Remember who goes before you. Remember who holds you. You are never facing the shadows alone. You are never fighting your battles in isolation. The God of all comfort surrounds you. The God of all peace steadies you. The God of all love embraces you. So rest. Rest in the light that never fades. Rest in the salvation that never fails. Rest in the strength that never grows weary. Tonight, as your eyes grow heavy and your thoughts begin to slow, let this truth be the lullaby that carries you into deep, holy rest. You are safe. You are seen. You are sustained. Not by your own strength, but by the one who has always held you close. Let the quiet settle around you now. Let the peace of God be the blanket over your soul. And let your final breath tonight be a gentle prayer. The Lord is my light, and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? Perfect peace. Not fleeting calm. Not temporary quiet. Not a peace that crumbles when life shifts or storms arise. But perfect peace. Whole peace. Lasting peace. A peace so deep, it seeps into the marrow of your bones. A peace so tender, it stills the racing heart. A peace so divine, it holds you, even in the chaos. But how does such peace come? Whose mind is stayed on thee? It is not found by drifting. It is not found in distractions. It is not found in striving. Peace flows from the soul that is anchored, not in circumstances, not in achievements, but in Him. To stay your mind on Him is to return again and again, through every thought, every sigh, every quiet longing. It is to let your gaze rest upon His goodness, to let your heart whisper His name, in the silent chambers of your being. It is to let Him be your still point, when the world spins wildly. And oh, how still that point is! A refuge, a harbor, a shelter from the winds that howl outside. Because He trusteth in thee. Trust is the pathway to peace. Not the absence of trouble, but the presence of trust. Trust does not mean you understand every outcome. Trust means you know who holds the outcome. Trust means you lean when you feel tired. You surrender when the way is unclear. You rest in the arms that never falter. Trust means you stop holding everything together, and let Him hold you. And when you do, peace enters, softly, gently, faithfully, like a river flowing through dry places, like a song drifting through the hush of night. Perfect peace. It doesn't shout. It doesn't demand. It comes quietly, like the Spirit's whisper over your weary soul, saying, I am here. I am with you. I am enough. So tonight, dear soul, let your thoughts settle on Him. Let your breathing slow. Let your mind, so full of weight and worry, be drawn back to the one who never changes. He is your peace, not just in moments of prayer, but in every breath between. Not just in worship, but in rest. Not just in victories, but in valleys. He is your peace. In the waiting, in the wondering, in the letting go. Let your mind stay on Him tonight. Not on what went wrong. Not on what lies ahead. Not on what you can't fix or control. But on the one who walks beside you. The one who whispers peace to your soul. The one who keeps you. You are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. You are not without hope. You are held in perfect peace. Because He is holding you. Even now. Even here. Even in the quiet of this night. So rest, beloved. Let peace descend like a soft covering over your heart. Let trust rise like a gentle lullaby in your spirit. You are safe. You are kept. You are deeply, eternally loved. There is something holy about this peace. Something not found in the noise of the world, but in the hush of His nearness. It is not loud. It is not boastful. It does not come dressed in grandeur. It arrives quietly, like the dew that settles on the earth before dawn. like a gentle hush that falls upon a weary soul. Perfect peace is not perfection in life, but the stillness of knowing who is Lord over life. Peace that surpasses understanding, because it does not depend on understanding. Peace that is not the absence of pain, but the presence of God in pain. Peace that walks with you through fire, and you are not burned. Peace that stands with you in the flood, and you are not overwhelmed. This peace cannot be stolen, because it is not given by the world. It is birthed in the heart of trust, in the secret place of surrender. When your mind stays on Him, your soul learns to rest even when your body is tired. When your mind stays on Him, your fears grow silent, and His promises grow louder. When your mind stays on Him, you do not fall apart, you fall into grace. So pause now. Let the quiet hold you. Let the presence of the Lord wrap around your thoughts. Let His nearness become the atmosphere of your heart. Every time your mind tries to wander to fear, bring it back to Him. Every time your thoughts begin to race, slow them down with His word. Every time your heart begins to tremble, anchor it in His faithfulness. He will keep you, not partially, not occasionally, but perfectly. Thou wilt keep him. Yes, He will keep you through the night. He will keep you through the silence. He will keep you when the path is dim. He will keep you in the waiting room of life. He will keep you in the middle of questions. He will keep you in the valleys you didn't choose. He does not lose those who trust Him. He does not misplace the ones who stay near. You are not walking alone tonight. You are not forgotten in the shadows. He walks ahead of you. He surrounds you. He shields you. And within His keeping there is peace. Not just calmness, but communion. Not just quiet, but closeness. Not just relief, but rest. You don't have to figure everything out tonight. You don't have to carry every burden. Let peace be your portion. Let Him be your keeper. Stay your mind on Him. Think on His mercy. Recall His faithfulness. Meditate on His promises. And peace will hold you, like the soft rhythm of a lullaby for the soul, sung by the One who never sleeps nor slumbers. You are being kept, even now. You are being steadied, even in the unknown. And in this keeping, you shall not be moved. The night grows quieter now, and in the hush of these hours, the presence of the Lord settles deeper still. Let your heart lean in again, not to the noise of the world, but to the whisper of His Spirit. There is something healing in this stillness, something mending in this hush of heaven. It is here, in the soft quiet, that trust takes root like deep wells beneath the soil. It is here, in the absence of answers, that trust becomes your compass. Because trusting Him is not about knowing what comes next. It's about knowing who holds what comes next. It's about believing that His hands do not slip, that His heart does not change, that His eyes do not miss a single tear you cry in secret. Perfect peace is the fruit of a soul that has chosen surrender. And trust is that surrender wrapped in hope. You may not understand the season you're walking through. You may not see the purpose of this valley. But when your mind stays on Him, when your soul turns its gaze from circumstance to Savior, a holy stillness anchors you, not because the path is easy, but because the One who walks it with you is faithful. He whispers in the stillness, "My child, I have not left you. I have not overlooked you. I have not forgotten what I promised." He is not slow to fulfill what He has spoken. He is shaping things in unseen places. He is preparing answers in the silence. He is drawing you deeper into trust. Let your mind return again to the rock that does not shake. Let your thoughts cling to the One who never grows weary. Let your soul breathe beneath His wings. You are not held together by your strength. You are held together by His. And that's why peace flows, not from understanding every detail, but from trusting the One who wrote every page of your story. He knows the path that winds ahead. He knows the burdens you carry in secret. He knows the ache behind your smile. He knows the battles you fight beneath your quiet exterior. And still, He keeps you. He keeps you when you're strong. He keeps you when you're weary. He keeps you when your faith feels bold. And He keeps you when your faith feels frail. Even in the moments when your prayers feel hollow. Even when your strength feels gone. Even when you have more tears than words. He is still keeping you. Because peace is not earned. Peace is not achieved. Peace is received in His presence. And His presence is here, right now. He will not let your foot be moved. He will not forsake the one who trusts in Him. So rest tonight, not because the answers came, but because the keeper of your soul has not changed. Still your mind on Him. Fix your thoughts on His goodness. Wrap your hope around His word. And let the perfect peace of God, the deep shalom of His Spirit, guard your heart and mind like a gentle covering. You are not drifting. You are not unraveling. You are being held in a perfect peace that the world cannot take. And as you sleep tonight, He watches over you. As you rest, He surrounds you. As you breathe slowly, He sings over you with love. You are safe. You are seen. You are kept. Let that truth cradle your soul like a sacred lullaby. Peace, peace, perfect peace. Isaiah 41 verse 10, KJV. There is a quiet strength in these words, a promise that wraps itself around the soul like a warm covering. Fear not, He says, not as a suggestion, but as a holy invitation. Not because life is without storms, but because His presence makes every storm bearable. In the stillness of night, when shadows stretch long and uncertainties whisper, His voice is like a lamp, gentle, unwavering, lighting the path just one step at a time. I am with you, not distant, not indifferent, but near, near to your sighs, near to your heartache, near to your trembling, and that nearness changes everything. When fear tries to rise like waves in your chest, when your thoughts spiral into what-ifs and unknowns, His nearness becomes the anchor. You are not walking this path alone. You never were. Even in seasons where the silence felt heavy, where prayers felt unanswered, where hope seemed dim, He was there, quietly holding, patiently strengthening, tenderly helping. And He still is. I will strengthen thee, He whispers. Not might, not maybe, but will. He knows what is wearing you down. He knows the invisible weights you carry. He sees the weariness in your soul, the way you press forward with silent perseverance. And He meets you with strength, not your own, but His divine, eternal strength. Strength that doesn't run out. Strength that doesn't falter when your own is failing. Strength that undergirds your spirit when you feel like sinking. I will help thee. Such a simple phrase, yet it carries the thunder of heaven. Help, not just to get by, but to rise. Help, not just to survive, but to overcome. He is the God who stoops low to lift you up. The God who reaches into your struggle, into your confusion, into your weakness, and places His hand beneath you. And oh, that hand! I will uphold thee with the right hand of my righteousness. That righteous hand that never trembles. That holy hand that carved the mountains. That faithful hand that carried the cross. That hand now holds you. You may feel fragile. You may feel broken in places no one sees. You may feel like you're barely standing. But you are being upheld by a hand that cannot fail. And in that promise, there is rest. You don't have to hold it all together. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to strive to be strong on your own. You simply have to lean. Lean into the one who never grows weary. Lean into the arms that do not let go. Lean into the love that remains steadfast, even when everything else feels uncertain. Tonight, let His words become your lullaby. Let His strength become your stillness. Let His promise become your pillow of peace. You are not alone. You are not forgotten. You are not forsaken. You are upheld. So breathe deeply. Release the burdens you've carried all day. And let this holy assurance wash over you. He will strengthen you. He will help you. He will uphold you. And even now, He is holding you close. There is something sacred about surrendering to rest when your soul is weary. Something holy about the hush that settles over a heart, when it realizes it does not have to be strong alone. The Lord never asked you to carry the weight of the world. He never asked you to walk through fire without Him, or cross deep waters on your own. What He asks is that you trust. Trust that His presence is not a fleeting feeling, but a faithful reality. Trust that His strength is not a distant concept, but a present promise. Sometimes the deepest peace comes, not from a change in our circumstances, but from the certainty that God is in them with us. I am thy God, He says. He doesn't say, I was. Not just, I will be. But I am. In this very moment, in this breath you're taking, He is yours, and you are His. That means you are never facing life alone. Never waking up to a day He has not already walked ahead of you in. Never enduring a night He is not watching over. What a comfort! To be known so intimately, to be seen so clearly, to be loved so deeply. When your spirit falters, He is not disappointed, He draws nearer. When your strength slips, He does not scold, He supplies more. When your heart aches, He does not grow silent, He sings over you with love. His strength is perfect in your weakness. His help is constant in your need. His hand is steady, even when yours trembles. So many try to hold everything together on their own. They clench their fists tighter, thinking it will keep life from falling apart. But the more tightly we hold, the more exhausted we become. But in the kingdom of God, strength comes in surrender. Victory begins in yielding. Peace blooms in the quiet trust of the soul. You are not meant to live burdened. You are not meant to carry the crushing weight of fear, of anxiety, of trying to prove your worth. You are meant to live upheld, held by the hand that formed you, held by the hand that rescued you, held by the hand that never drops what it treasures. So even now, in the gentle hush of this moment, hear the whisper of heaven. Be not dismayed. You don't have to understand everything. You don't have to see the whole path ahead. You don't have to have all the strength. You only need to know, He is with you. The storms may still rage. The winds may still howl. But you are anchored in a God who does not shift with the weather. He is your steadiness. He is your calm. He is your refuge. So as you close your eyes tonight, you can release the need to figure everything out. You can let go of the anxious thoughts that run like rivers in your mind. You can breathe deep and rest, knowing that the one who never sleeps is holding you still. You are not forgotten. You are not forsaken. You are not alone. You are loved by a God who strengthens you, helps you, and holds you, always. There is no moment too small, and no burden too quiet, for the Lord to care about. He sees even the sigh you didn't speak aloud. He notices the thoughts you couldn't quite form into prayer. He understands the tears that fell wordlessly in the solitude of your soul. This is the God who strengthens you, not with pressure, but with peace. Not with force, but with presence. Sometimes strength looks like standing tall, but sometimes strength looks like resting in trust, letting go, and simply breathing in the nearness of your Savior. When you are weary, He does not ask for performance. When you are trembling, He does not demand perfection. Instead, He offers help. Gentle help. Timeless help. Steady, sacred help. His help does not always come in the way we expect. Sometimes it comes in the form of a whispered reminder. You are not alone. Sometimes in the form of a scripture that rises to your heart at just the right time. Sometimes it comes as stillness in the middle of your racing thoughts. He helps you by carrying what you cannot, by healing what you cannot fix, by holding what you are too weak to keep holding on your own. And He upholds you, not just barely, not temporarily, but with the right hand of His righteousness. That is no ordinary hand. That is the hand that parted seas. That is the hand that wrote commandments on stone. That is the hand that shaped galaxies. That is the hand that reached down through history to redeem you with nail-scarred love. And now, it is the hand that holds you steady. You are not upheld by circumstance. You are not upheld by your own strength. You are upheld by Him, by His righteousness, by His mercy, by His steadfast compassion. Even now, as you listen, can you feel the stillness settling in your soul? Not the stillness of emptiness, but the stillness of holy assurance. This is not a night to fear. This is a night to remember who holds you. The shadows may stretch across the walls, but His light is in your heart. The questions may still linger, but His promises remain firm. You do not need to fear what tomorrow brings, because the one who holds tomorrow is already holding you. Even if everything around you shifts, He remains your unshakable foundation. Even if the road is unclear, He remains your guiding light. Even if the night is long, His presence is longer still. So let this moment become your quiet altar, a sacred pause between you and the Lord who knows you fully. Let your soul lean into the peace He gives, a peace that doesn't rely on understanding, but on trust, a peace that flows like still waters over your heart, a peace that comes not from the absence of trouble, but from the presence of God. Fear thou not. These are not just words. They are a divine invitation to rest. Rest from worry. Rest from striving. Rest from the burden of carrying what was never yours to bear alone. You are not weak for needing rest. You are wise for receiving it from the one who offers it freely. So sleep now, wrapped in the arms of divine assurance. Breathe deeply, sheltered beneath everlasting wings. Lay your heart down gently, for you are guarded by the one who neither slumbers nor sleeps. He is your keeper, your strength, your helper, your God, and you are forever upheld. Zephaniah 3 verse 17, KJV. What a wonder it is to imagine the God of heaven, not merely watching from afar, but singing over you. Yes, you. The one who sometimes feels unseen. The one who wonders if you're truly known. The one who has walked through silent nights and whispered prayers in the dark. The Lord your God is not distant. He is not indifferent. He is not unmoved by your story. He is in your midst, right here, closer than the breath you take. And His presence is not passive. It is rejoicing, it is resting, it is singing. Can you hear it now, if only in the hush of your spirit? A melody that wraps around you like a soft cloak. A hymn that carries the rhythm of mercy, woven with grace, laced with light. He rejoices over you, not because of your perfection, but because of His deep delight in simply loving you. Not because you've done everything right, but because you belong to Him. The world may measure your worth by accomplishments, but your Creator measures it by affection. You are not merely tolerated by God. You are treasured. You are not overlooked. You are celebrated. This is the heart of heaven toward you. Joyful, tender, resting in love, singing in delight. And what kind of song would He sing? Perhaps a song that remembers the first time you turned to Him in faith. A song that echoes the moments you chose hope when it felt hard. A song that knows your tears and transforms them into a sacred rhythm of healing. His song over you is not loud and frantic. It is gentle and layered with peace. He sings not to impress, but to express the affection of a father, whose love does not flicker or fade. Even now, as you lay down your thoughts for the night, you are not drifting into silence. You are being serenaded by grace. Even in your stillness, He surrounds you with the music of His mercy. Even in your sleep, His presence is not paused. The same God who commands the winds and calms the sea sings lullabies over your soul. You are not forgotten in the night. You are not alone in the quiet. You are not unnoticed in the stillness. The Lord your God is mighty, and He has chosen to dwell in your midst. His joy is not dependent on circumstances. It is rooted in love deeper than time, more faithful than the sunrise. And His love, it rests. It is not anxious. It does not rush. It does not need to prove itself. It rests, secure, strong, everlasting. And in that restful love, you too are invited to rest. Let your heart lay gently tonight. beneath the canopy of this divine melody. Let your soul find stillness, not just because the room is quiet, but because the presence of God wraps you in peace. You are loved. You are cherished. You are sung over with joy. So sleep now, not just in darkness, but in delight. For even while you slumber, the song of the Lord continues, unbroken, unwavering, unceasing. You are His beloved, and He sings over you. There is a tender mystery in the thought that the Almighty, the Holy One enthroned above the heavens, would incline His heart so deeply toward you, not merely with instruction, but with affection, not just as a ruler to be feared, but as a father who sings. Pause for a moment, and let that sacred image settle within you. God singing, not out of duty, not as a distant chorus echoing from beyond the stars, but as a personal serenade, a divine lullaby sung over the one He loves. This is not just poetic language. It is the very heartbeat of heaven. His voice is not thunder here, but a song of gentleness. His words are not commands in this moment, but melodies of compassion. And you, yes, you, are the reason for the song. For it is written, He will joy over thee with singing. Imagine that, in the quiet of your room, in the stillness of your night, there is a sound not heard by earthly ears, but felt by the soul, a song written in eternal notes, carried by grace, resonating in the unseen places of your heart. It's the sound of the shepherd drawing near. It's the voice of the Redeemer delighting in His own. It's the hymn of heaven whispered over your weary spirit. For though the world may weigh heavy upon your shoulders, God's song is a reminder of your worth. Though fears may linger at the edge of your thoughts, His melody brings peace that surpasses understanding. And though the path may feel uncertain, His voice sings steady love, anchoring you in every season. He is mighty to save, but also gentle to soothe. He is sovereign over galaxies, and yet intimately attuned to your soul. What comfort there is in knowing you are not just protected, but delighted in. You are not just covered, but celebrated. You are not just held, you are sung over. And in that sacred truth, there is rest. A rest deeper than sleep. A rest more healing than silence. A rest that flows from being fully known and fully loved by the one who sings. So breathe deeply now. Let your spirit exhale every burden. Let your mind release every anxious thought. You are not alone tonight. You are not forgotten. The Holy One has drawn near, and He brings with Him a song of joy over your life, a song of peace over your heart, a song of steadfast love over your soul. Let it carry you now, not with noise, but with the hush of sacred sound, a song that needs no music to be heard, for it is carried in the Spirit, a song not written with ink, but with everlasting mercy. And even when you feel unsure, even when your own voice trembles, even when the world seems loud and unforgiving, His song never stops. He does not sing for a moment and go quiet. He sings continually, as a father who never tires of loving his child. So sleep in this peace. Lay down your heart in this melody. Rest your soul in this divine lullaby. You are the one He sings over. You are the one He loves with joy. And this joy is your shelter. Even in the night, you are held in a song that never fades. Even now, in this quiet hour of the night, while the world slumbers beneath a veil of stars, God is near, closer than the breath that rises from your chest, closer than the beating of your heart. He does not sleep. He does not turn away. He does not withdraw His affection in the dark. Instead, He draws closer still. His presence surrounds you like a tender embrace. And His song continues, a melody that neither time nor trouble can silence. It is a song sung not to crowds, but to your soul, a song not performed, but poured out from the heart of the one who made you. He sings over your fears, until they melt like snow in the warmth of morning light. He sings over your wounds, until the ache finds rest in his healing hands. He sings over your questions, until your spirit remembers. You are seen, you are known, you are cherished. And even when you feel forgotten by the world, he rejoices in you. Not because you've done everything right. Not because you've achieved perfection. Not because you are without flaw, but simply because you are his. He delights in you. As a shepherd delights in the lamb he carries on his shoulders. As a mother delights in the child she holds near. As a lover of souls delights in the one he has redeemed. Can you feel it? The weight of that love. Not heavy like a burden, but weighty with wonder. Full, deep, and unmoving. It is the kind of love that does not waver when storms come. The kind that does not shrink when the night is long. The kind that remains steady, even when you feel uncertain. His love rests upon you. It does not rush. It does not retreat. It abides. And as it rests, it sings. Like the wind gently rustling through the trees. Like the sea whispering to the shore. His voice sings through the quiet places in your spirit. Sometimes in words. Sometimes in peace. Sometimes in the stillness itself. And in that holy hush, you are reminded of who you are. Not by the world's standards, but by heaven's truth. You are beloved. You are cradled in grace. You are rejoiced over with singing. You may not hear the notes with your ears, but your spirit hears the harmony. Your soul recognizes the sound, because it was made for it. It was made to rest in the song of God. So let the melody wrap around you now. Let it quiet the noise of your day. Let it soften the corners of your heart where sorrow lingers. Let it wash over you, like rainfall over dry ground, like lullabies over weary thoughts. And let it guide you, not just into rest tonight, but into a deeper knowing, a deeper believing, a deeper dwelling in the truth of who your God is. For he is not silent toward you. He is not distant. He is not indifferent. He is near. He is mighty. He is tender. And he is singing a song of love, a song of joy, a song of belonging that no darkness can erase. Even in the night, you are not alone. Even in silence, you are not forgotten. The Lord your God is in the midst of you, and his song, like his love, never ceases. So rest now, wrapped in that song. Sleep beneath the notes of divine affection, and awaken tomorrow still carried by the melody that began before the world was formed, and will continue until all things are made new. You are the one he sings over, and in his song, you are always home. Isaiah 43 verse 1, KJV. Before the day had its beginning, before the sun ever cast its first golden ray across the sky, he spoke your name. Not as the world speaks names, passing, fleeting, echoing only for a moment, but as one who speaks with eternal affection, with purpose wrapped in every syllable. He formed you. Every breath you breathe was first drawn in his imagination. Every heartbeat, every fingerprint, every unseen strand of thought, woven carefully in the sacred chambers of his design. You are not an accident. You are not a stray thread in the tapestry of time. You are the handiwork of a loving Creator, called forth with intention, redeemed with mercy, named with divine delight. Fear not, he whispers gently into the quiet of your soul, not as a command to suppress your feelings, but as an invitation to rest, to exhale the weight of worry, to release the heaviness you've carried for far too long. For he who speaks these words is not distant. He is not watching from a far-off throne. He is near, present, steady, in every shadowed hallway, in every tear-stained pillow, in every moment where your voice was too weary to pray. You are not alone. He has redeemed you, not simply rescued, but ransomed, not merely salvaged, but sought after. He paid a price not with silver or gold, but with the blood of his own Son, because that is the value he placed upon your soul. You are not just one among many. You are his. He has called you by name, not the name others have labeled you, not the identity pain tried to stamp on your spirit, but the name He Himself has written across your heart in love. Beloved, redeemed, chosen, His. There is safety in belonging to Him. There is peace in being called by the one who knows you fully and loves you still. There is rest in knowing that your story is not lost in the pages of time. It is held in His hand, and it is precious to Him. So even if the night feels long, even if the questions swirl like wind through your soul, even if your heart trembles at what tomorrow may hold, listen again to the quiet voice of God. Fear not. Let those 2 words become your lullaby tonight. Let them sink beneath your skin and settle in your spirit. Let them hush the voices of doubt and calm the anxious beating of your heart, because He who formed you walks beside you still. He who called you has never stopped calling, and He who redeemed you has never once regretted the cost. You are His, and that truth, more than anything else, is enough to still the storm, to light the dark, to guide your soul into rest. There will be waters, deep, swelling, uncertain. There will be rivers, rushing wild with questions you cannot answer, currents that pull at your peace, tides that rise in the night and whisper fears into your soul. There will be fire, heat that blisters, seasons that sear, moments that feel like the very air is heavy with sorrow. When you feel scorched by loss, when pain wraps around your chest like smoke, and the path ahead is lit only by flickers of flickering hope. But He is there, not in a far-off realm, not watching distantly through the haze of your hardship, but walking with you, step by step, present in the flood, faithful in the flame. I will be with thee. Not maybe, not sometimes, not when you're strong enough, faithful enough, calm enough, but always. When the waters rise, He does not pull away, He draws near. When the rivers swell, He stands beside you, anchoring your soul so you will not be swept away. And when the fire comes, He does not promise that you'll never face the heat, but He promises you will not be consumed. Not a single flame can undo what He has declared over you. Not a single spark can erase your worth in His eyes. You are not walking alone. The flames may flicker, but His presence burns brighter still. The waves may roar, but His voice speaks peace over the storm. The fire may surround you, but you are surrounded more surely by His mercy. He does not promise a life free of trial, but He promises His nearness in every one of them. His presence is not an escape from hardship. It is the strength to walk through it and not be destroyed. And sometimes, it's in those very moments, the rivers rising, the fire blazing, that we come to know His love most deeply. Because it's then that we learn. He is not only the God of calm seas and clear skies. He is the God of raging storms, the Lord of fire and water, the keeper of your soul in the fiercest night. He is the one who stands in the furnace with you, who parts the waters before you, who holds your hand as you pass through the valley of shadows. So take heart tonight. If the waters are rising in your life, if the fire feels near and fierce, remember this: you are not forsaken. He who walks with you is stronger than the flame. He who holds you is mightier than the flood. And you will come through, refined, not ruined, protected, not perished, held, not harmed. His word stands firm. When thou passest through the waters, I will be with thee. Not one tear goes unnoticed. Not one step is taken alone. Not one moment is beyond His reach. So breathe in peace. Let His promise wash over you like a gentle tide. Let His nearness wrap around your heart like a shelter from the storm. The waters will not overflow you. The fire will not burn you, because you are His, and He is with you. The world may not understand the quiet strength you carry. They may see only the surface. But beneath, there are waters you've walked through, rivers you've stood against, fires you've endured in silence. But heaven sees. Heaven remembers every step. Heaven records every tear. And God, your refuge, your keeper, your constant, has been with you through it all. There are moments when the night stretches long, when your prayers seem to echo into silence, when the weight of unanswered questions presses heavy on your chest. But listen. Even in that quiet, even in that stillness where no answer seems to come, there is a whisper. Soft, steady, unwavering. I am with you. And his presence, gentle, holy, unshakable, is not diminished by your doubt. It does not withdraw when your strength falters. It does not waver when you feel lost. You are not defined by the fire you walk through, but by the one who walks through it with you. You are not marked by the storms you've endured, but by the grace that carried you through. Each flame has forged something eternal in you. Each wave has shaped your soul to cling more tightly to the rock that cannot be moved. You have not been abandoned in your sorrow. You have not been overlooked in your suffering. You have not been forgotten in your weariness. You are being refined, not broken. Purified, not discarded. Lifted, not left behind. Sometimes, we pray for God to take us out of the waters. But often, He instead teaches us to walk on them. Sometimes we long for the fire to end, but He teaches us to walk through it without being consumed. Because in the fire, we find His closeness. In the flood, we discover His faithfulness. And after the waters recede, after the flames dim, you will look back and see. He was with you in every moment. He held you when your strength was gone. He guarded you when you couldn't see the way forward. He whispered peace into your storms. He stood beside you, never moving, never changing. So now, as you lay your head down tonight, may your heart rest in that beautiful assurance. You are never alone. You are never unprotected. You are never without hope. Let the sound of His promise be the lullaby that calms your spirit. When thou passest through the waters, I will be with thee. Let the fire lose its fear. Let the rivers lose their power. Let your soul rise in quiet trust. You are walking with the one who commands the seas, who calms the storms, who quenches the flames, who shelters you in the shadow of His wings. And there, in that sacred shelter, you are safe. You are seen. You are loved. Isaiah 43 verse 2, KJV. There is a gentle truth that often comes not with thunder, but with a still small voice. A truth that settles into the soul like evening light upon still waters. It is this: you are not walking this path alone. Even when your footsteps feel heavy, even when the road seems unending, even when the burden in your chest is too quiet to explain, His presence walks beside you, soft as a shadow, sure as the dawn. God does not stand at a distance when your soul is weary. He draws near. He stoops low. He encircles you in the tenderness of His grace. When the waters rise, He rises with you. When the flames roar, His peace becomes your covering. When the storms threaten to pull you under, He becomes your anchor, your stronghold in the swelling tide. And even now, perhaps unnoticed by others, He is doing a quiet miracle within you. He is calming the trembling places in your heart. He is fortifying your spirit in unseen ways. He is weaving strength into the fragile threads of your hope. You do not need to understand every step to keep walking. You do not need to see the whole path to keep trusting. For the one who goes before you knows every twist, every shadow, every place where the waters rise higher than you imagined. And He has already prepared a way through. You were never expected to be strong on your own. You were never called to carry your trials without help. The invitation was always to walk with Him, to lean, to rest, to be held. So rest now in the safety of His presence. Let His promise steady your soul again. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. Not might, not maybe, but will. This is not a fragile hope. It is a covenant sealed by His faithfulness. And even if the waters are high today, even if your heart still aches, even if answers do not yet come, He is still with you, still holding, still guiding, still loving you with a love that no storm can wash away. So breathe deeply tonight. Let that truth wrap around you like a warm blanket. Let it quiet the anxious corners of your mind. Let it whisper peace to your soul. You are not walking alone. Not now. Not ever. There are moments in life when silence becomes louder than words. When the night feels long, and the heart wonders if morning will ever come. But even in these hushed valleys, God is speaking, softly, steadily, faithfully. His voice may not shake the mountains in this hour, but it moves quietly through the hollows of your heart, reminding you that His presence never fades. Not when you feel forgotten, not when you are afraid, not even when you cannot feel Him near, because He has promised, not as a passing thought, but as a steadfast vow. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. It is not the absence of deep waters that marks His favor, but His presence in the midst of them. For even the fiercest floods must yield to His word. Even the strongest currents cannot sever you from His hand. The world may see only the surface of your life, but He sees deeper. He knows what you carry in silence, what you battle beneath your smile, what you hold together with quiet prayers when no one is watching. And to those silent cries, He answers with unwavering love. Sometimes His help arrives in small mercies, a gentle word, an unexpected comfort, a peace that rises in you when nothing else makes sense. Other times, His help is unseen, a shield around your mind, a strength poured into your spirit while you sleep. But always, He is near. Always, He walks beside you, like a shepherd guarding through the night, like a father drawing close to calm his child, like a river of mercy that flows even through the desert. This is your God, the one who does not change, the one whose presence never falters, the one whose love never runs dry. You may feel the flame near you, but you will not be burned. You may hear the roar of the river, but you will not be overtaken, because He is your refuge, and the one who holds back the seas with His word also holds your life in His hand. You are not forgotten in the fire. You are not forsaken in the flood. He is with you, in every trial, in every tear, in every silent moment of waiting. So let your heart rest now. Let it be stilled by the assurance of His presence. Let it lean into the truth that nothing can separate you from His care. Even here, especially here, He is working. He is refining, not destroying. He is shaping, not discarding. He is loving, not leaving. And in time, you will look back and see that even the waters that once threatened you became a path He carved for your deliverance. For He is not only the God who sees you through, He is the God who walks every step beside you. There is something sacred about the way God moves in silence. He doesn't always come with thunder or lightning, but sometimes with a whisper, a breath of peace that finds you in the stillness of night. He comes softly to the soul that trembles, and tenderly to the one worn down by sorrow. His presence is not loud, but it is sure. You may not see the way ahead, but He walks before you. You may not understand the reason for the fire, but He walks in the fire with you. And His nearness does not depend on your strength. It does not hinge upon your faith being perfect. It is not less because you feel weak. It is not distant because you feel tired. No, His nearness is rooted in His promise. His presence is your inheritance, a gift from a Father who never abandons His own. Even in your tears, He counts every drop. Even in your silence, He hears the cry of your heart. Even in your stumbling, He keeps you from falling too far. For He has said, "You are mine," and what belongs to Him is never left alone in the valley. You are not passing through the waters alone. You are not walking through the fire without purpose. There is a refining, a deep strengthening happening beneath the surface. This is not a season meant to destroy you. It is a passage, a transition, a preparation. The fire will not consume you. It will refine the gold within you. The waters will not overwhelm you. They will carry you closer to His heart. Every trial, every pressure, every heavy moment you carry in the quiet, none of it is wasted. It is being woven into something eternal, something beautiful, something holy. And though you may not see it now, you will see it soon. You will look back one day and realize you were not alone in the deep. You were not forsaken in the flame. You were not forgotten in the wilderness. For He was with you, every moment. He was guiding when you didn't feel it. He was holding you when you thought you had nothing left to hold on to. And the very places that once brought you pain will one day echo with praise. Because even the flood became a testimony. Even the fire became a song. And in it all, you were never alone. You were always held, always loved, always seen. So now, breathe deep. Let your heart be at rest. For the same God who walks through the storm with you is the one who leads you into peace. And his promises are not shadows. They are light. They are life. They are sure.